It is week number 3 of the Titan Immortal League. We've got another matchup here for you all today. Another best of 3. It's Dorado Gaming Zeta taking on Team Coconuts here. Action in Group A. And Group A has been pretty close here. Almost every team, except for Owl Corpse Gaming. We'll let Owl Corpse Gaming catch a stray for this one, but we'll pray for them later on. The rest of this group is really close here, Golden Gad, and we're going to see which team is going to pick up their second win. My name is Ferris. This is Golden Gad, like I just mentioned. How are you feeling today? Ready for this matchup here tonight?
Oh, I'm definitely ready to get this started. Of course, these are two 1-1 teams. They're actually both coming off of a loss in the last one. For Dorado coming out of a loss to Omega Akuma pairing knives, of course, always a
It's a tough
mouthful.
one.
And then Maelstrom Esports, Maelstrom. People say it different ways. Either way, Maelstrom Esports. So they both definitely have some ground to kind of make up. And with all the teams being at 1-1, it gives a great opportunity for these teams to actually really pull away in the pack. And this is only a 7 week regular season, so every match does matter a lot going forward. So if you could pick up one of these ones against another one of your opponents that could potentially be the one that kind of pushes you out of playoffs, it's good to grab it now, since that's kind of how the tiebreaker rules work. It's if you have the head-to-head, that's the main determining factor here.
And let's talk about Team Coconuts first as a roster right now. We've got word before this match has started that Team Coconuts is fielding all 3 of their substitutes for this matchup. They got Beniona in the top lane in place for CJ. They got RSH in the mid lane, and they got Arya in the bot lane. So I don't know what this means for Team Coconuts. Is it going to mean that they crash and burn? Are they going to find lots of success with these substitutes here, Golden Gad? That kind of remains to be seen, but that is probably the biggest asterisk heading into this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you're so used to playing with these teammates that you've kind of been relying on, and now you suddenly throw in a couple subs. Definitely less practiced, definitely less coordinated, but this is where individual play is definitely going to come up to a much bigger topic here, and we're going to start off here into the draft here for game 1. Team Coconuts on that blue side, they're going to ban away Ivern, and Dorado Gaming is going to respond with a Bel'Veth, which I did notice Bel'Veth very highly played for Colby, so it does make sense there to ban it out. Generally, you're going to see a lot of target bans, especially in game 1, where the series really hasn't been laid out at all, so you're going to see a lot of those solo queue focus picks. For instance, Nocturne and the Bel'Veth getting taken away immediately from Colby, who that was their 2 most played champions for the split. So definitely something very, very big there. Hui, great flex pick, getting taken out. Same for Mbessa and Rek'Sai.
Hey, there you go.
One way or another got it on the board. So a lot of those kind of aggressive, kind of early ganking. Well, Nocturne a little bit different, but at least as far as Rek'Sai and Bel'Veth have a lot of dueling power, and we're just going to see Mel. It did not get banned, and it is enabled as of yesterday, so definitely going to be seeing it here. And I will say, last night we had Faker play it. He accidentally died to a turret shot by reflecting a Silas E, so let's hope that RSH has really studied up on this champion and knows when and when not to use that W that is so crucial for that champion.
Yeah, it is kind of like a double-edged sword. If you do reflect that wrong ability, it'll bring you right back in. Abduct from Silas, definitely not one of the ones that you do want to reflect. But John, on the side of Dorado, has played Mel, did actually perform pretty well on this pick. So the takeaway here from Team Coconuts might not be bad. Colby's played the Vi here before as well. So kind of like a hard engaged composition here thus far with the Vi. What else is Coconuts going to pair with that to kind of supplement that? Mel doesn't necessarily do a great job. She's going to be hitting from afar. It's just going to be the Ornn blind for Beniona, one of the champions that they like to play a lot. This opens up the door for a counter pick on the red side that maybe Dorado just didn't expect to get this early on. And they're going to end up blocking the Galio, so they're not even going to take that counter pick just yet. They're just going to take that mid lane matchup immediately.
Yeah, Galio most notably has the bug feature, question mark, I'm not too sure, where you can flash after Eing now, to just like Gragas body slam. So definitely a little bit scarier of a threat in team fights as far as that's concerned. I'm not sure if it's a bug, but it's definitely probably allowed in this scenario here, so definitely still pretty good, and you don't really have that great of reflect value into the Mel as well. So we're seeing a bunch of bans here towards support as well. You got Braum, Lulu, Nami, so a lot of these kind of more supportive, kind of more protective. I mean, there's a great mid-juggle duo for I feel like both of these teams, so it could be pretty threatening to go and repeat gank on that bot side. You do have a little bit more safety with the Corki, but Team Coconuts hasn't locked in any portion of their bot lane, so they're kind of going in blind here. So I'd much rather see a top lane pick here into that Ornn, and it's gonna be Karma. Could be flexed.
Yeah, it could potentially be. Honestly, I would absolutely hate Dorado if they played the Karma top. I'm sorry, I gotta share my opinions here. If we're playing Karma top, I'm gonna be upset. So maybe, I mean, it would be good versus Ornn. Ornn would be absolutely helpless against that. The hard engage though, let's say this is a Karma support into something like that, it's a little bit of a skill matchup. If Vampire Holly, if she can close the gap, then it might not be that easy to deal with this Karma. If not, then she's just gonna get poked out. So the Twisted Fate lock-in though, Golden Gad, I noticed this a little bit later than you did. I saw you gave a little bit of a reaction. Do we have a Mel bot here? Is this what we're seeing?
I think we're going to see Mel bot. I mean, TF has flourished in the bot lane occasionally, but I just don't think it's going to be that. I think Mel is definitely going to be that flex towards the bot side. With Mel, still has pretty much everything you could want from an AP carry, good wave clear, even has some gank setup as well. So that's going to be a pretty interesting bot lane here. We're seeing locked in there, TF going towards the mid lane, and the Mel getting flexed down. But we are going to see a Camille on the top side, which traditionally does very well into Ornn after that kind of 15-minute mark. At that point, Camille kind of just beats up on the Ornn with the true damage. But honestly, it's a pretty interesting comp from both of these teams that you don't really expect either way. And if I had to kind of put out a prediction, just thinking about how the comps interact, I think it's going to be pretty difficult for Team Coconuts to really break through some of the damage threats that Dorado Gaming has. So I'd maybe put them ahead in this one, just for the time being. I mean, obviously, a lot of variables. Camille, a good scaling champ. Corki could really get blown up in a lane where you are running into a Karma. So I think that could be a little bit dangerous for them. And Galio. Galio's in Zhao, Vi Twisted Fate, pretty much as standard of a 2v2 as you could get as well.
I feel like there's going to be some troubles depending on how. Again, we said Faker was messing it up on the Mel, so who knows? Maybe Arya is going to make some mistakes as well. But this player is actually off-rolled. From what I could see from their solo queue, it did look like they were more of a mid-top player. So this is probably more of a comfort pick for Arya. They are a very good player too. They're very high ranked. I think they finished Grandmaster in the season before. I think that was split 3 of season 14. So they are really good, and they're playing something like Mel, who was a little bit nerfed, but might be something more comfort. And into all these melee champions, right? They're just going to be walking into all that control that Mel can provide with the roots and everything. So this could be a power pick for Team Coconuts. And going back to the point of the Camille, this is a Void champion. Void has performed really well on picks like Ambessa, kind of similar to Camille. Got a whole lot of dashes. Camille only has one, but kind of similar. Let's see what Void can do, because he is in a much better matchup here into the Ornn. He got that counter pick on R5.
Yeah, definitely going to look towards that top side. But elaborating on the bot lane a little bit more, I just think Corki and Karma, if you get any kind of big RQ from the Karma to actually be able to force out the Phosphorus Bomb for Joker, it could be pretty dangerous. Of course, Mel has the basically point-and-click route, undodgeable according to Reddit. You have to have 555 movement speed if they perfectly aim it to actually be able to dodge it, which is pretty interesting. Very protective as far as that's concerned. But you're already seeing the poke is coming through from this double range bot lane and making Arya's life a lot more difficult.
And this is kind of the problem with picking a champion like Rel into all this poke. When you play a engaged champion, you have to play, and you're playing it to double range, you have to kind of play like a psychopath. You have to play on a knife's edge to be able to close the gap and try and make something happen. That just really isn't happening. So we do see Arya take a lot of damage, and with this prio, Jim Cantor is going to be the beneficiary of having his team join him for this invade. Colby, you're in a whole lot of trouble there, my friend. Already burned the flash. First blood will go over to Dorado. Nice heads up play. They're getting into it early here at the 3-minute mark.
Yeah, using that priority so well to actually invade on this red buff, where Vi is always so notably weak in this early game. You really can't generate too much 1v1 or even 2v1 value, especially if you're already starting the camp and using your Q. So just really well played there from Jim and Hoshiumi to actually combo there. And now they're looking towards mid. They want to force RSH out of lane, or at least secure that top scuttle, since, Jim Cantor did kind of commit all of his time to actually invade that, so he still has all the top side to actually go and collect. So I think for the most part, Colby's going to be on quite the bit of a back foot for the rest of this early game.
Joker could be in some trouble because Hoshiuma is making their way back is actually going to be able to find this bottom scuttle. So it was that cross from Jim Cantor up to that top scuttle. That's going to leave Colby open to actually get this scuttle crab, which I think they're going to be happy about, because I feel like after what just happened, you might be thinking to yourself as a jungler, well, crap, now I'm double crabbed. This really, really sucks and be so far behind on XP, but they're actually even in CS right now. So not the end of the world for Colby. Another interesting point to bring up about these compositions is we got double globals in the mid lane. This is the battle of the globals, Golden God. Normally you see like a Galio runs the game because he's got the roam advantage, or a Twisted Fate runs the map on the macro because you have the destiny to get around. Both of these two can follow up on each other's plays. I feel like that's going to create an interesting dynamic once we start seeing them get involved post level 6.
Yeah, Twisted Fate and Galio definitely some polarizing champions due to globals. Twisted Fate obviously likes to sit in side lanes later on in the game, and Galio kind of plays a more supplemental role in joining in objectives a little bit more. So we'll have to see how that interaction goes. But I mean, it's pretty classic. If you see a Galio, you end up picking supplemental.
Oh.
Jim is on the top side.
Beniona, you may have wanted to regret that searing charge. Gonna have to burn the flash. When becomes lightning, already used. Audacious charge, already used. Jim Cantor. But hey, Beniona wants this fight because guess what? Colby's here, and Colby wants revenge from the earlier invade. Searing charge connects, but that's a great hook shot flash from Void to secure that first kill. Colby should trade one back and does so. 1-for-1 in the top side. Void, low on health, low on mana. Gonna get on out of here.
Yeah, 1-for-1, but able to secure a bit more gold due to those partial bounties. But on the bot side, at the meantime, Joker actually goes down from a pretty nice engage from Vampire Holly. I'm sure we might be able to see that later, but you know, a little bit unfortunate. That is a pretty big wave that you are going to be losing on that Corki, and both those summoners are burned there as well. So definitely would like to see that what happened there. But it seems like Arya also burned Flash, so but has the TP advantage pretty crucially, so we'll be able to pretty much cheat out this recall and then maybe even force out a big trade after they return. So could be pretty scary for the bot lane of Dorado.
The season 15 champion, it's already got a kill. It's good news for Team Coconuts. That kind of gets one back. After that invade, Dorado got one kill for themselves. Then they got a trade kill, and then Coconuts gets theirs back. But here's Vampire Holly waiting around the mid lane. So is Arya, actually. They moved both members of the bot side up here, probably because the grubs are up and alive. John could be in some trouble, but Hashiyume is here to give him a little bit of shields. Crash down connects. No real follow-up. Radiant Volley is going to do a good chunk of damage. But you can see the priority that Team Coconuts is putting on these grubs. And even Joker, looking at the minimap there, Golden God, is making their way down. But now the Mel is TPing to the bot side. So we got a really interesting setup of lane assignments here. As Gold Card going to connect onto Hoshiumi. We got a scrap in the top side. Void is going to get engaged upon now, but here comes that heroic entrance. That's going to knock up Colby. Here comes the call of the Forge God, but it's too late. The jungler is already down here for the side of Coconuts. And now the rest of Dorado is closing in onto this. Orin gets a nice searing charge. Can the Orin get anything else? There's the shield from the Karma. And Jim Cantor will bring down Beniona. 2 kills to Dorado. They take over at the Grubs.
Yeah, I feel like right there, Team Coconuts just commit to this grub side of the map a little bit too early. You know, I feel like they could have leveraged the TP to go up towards the top side, but instead they try to play for Mel getting a pick on to Jim Cantor in that mid lane. But, you know, Jim actually able to dodge away from that was pretty influential there, as we are going to be going into this replay here on this fight. It's a pretty segmented one for sure, as you know, just trying to help out on the top side. Colby already in a pretty dangerous position with that classic Galio Camille combo, just able to take that kill down, and then a nice trade, or a nice follow through on this final one. So yeah, just I feel like a little bit weird on the assignments, since the grubs weren't even spawned by the time Mel was actually pathing up. So just had to waste some time, and in that meantime, Joker just pushing in the bot wave, and you can't drop 2 waves to the turret there. So I'd say well played from Dorado, and a little bit sloppy there from Team Coconuts, is now Colby trying to bail Beniona out of this top lane wave.
And it's 2 kills to Void. That sucks if you are Beniona. Like, seriously, Camille is going to run you all day long in that side lane. It only gets worse. Those precision protocols are going to hit for some crazy true damage. Dorado is able to take down this Infernal Drake here, so they get the grubs. They're also going to get control of the Drake. Now, Colby did just show topside, so that was the prime indicator here for them to run down and take this. Nothing that Arya can really do here. Is going to try and maybe find a steal with the Radiant Volley. Not going to be so successful. Dorado has now accumulated themselves a 1,000 gold lead. So pretty solid stuff from them. The top side specifically going very, very well. We'll see what Void can do. Maybe some solo kills on the horizon. Pay attention to how much pressure that this Camille can put on the side lanes.
Yeah, and especially with already having 3 grubs in your pocket, that side lane pressure becomes even greater, as now they're looking for a play onto Arya in the
Well,
bot
Arya
side.
got taunted. Vampire Holly, Shattering Strike will kind of delay this engage, but there's a lot of people converging on the Mel. There's a pretty nice rebuttal, though. Somehow able to stay alive, gets the Golden Eclipse off. It's a 1-for-1. In with the Destiny is the Twisted Fate. RSH trying to help out the team, but right now it's all Dorado. Taunt is going to land on the Vampire Holly. Now she is CC'd up. Give the kill over to Joker for 2 more. RSH has to sit there and watch their team fall. Dorado once again in the team fights here. Golden God are winning it out.
Yeah, I think that was just a little bit of an overcommit. I feel like you just let the Mel die. You don't have to commit that many members, but I guess with the map presence that they had, they thought maybe they could fight it out. But I feel like with a TF, you just don't have the extended damage if your Mel is down as well. You know, Vi also not online with the Trinity, it looks like, having both those components, so still has some ways to go to actually become quite a bit of a threat in fights. So you just don't have the damage there to actually contest something beefy like a Galio's Injao. So I'd say a little bit of an overforce. And I was going to talk about how Dorado has such a good foothold in this game. They have the 3 grubs, they have a Drake in their pocket. You know, they've also got the gold lead, and they're about to get on their last feat of strength as well. So they really have put themselves in a great position in this game.
They absolutely have. And I like the point that you brought up about the fact that the burst potential, once that gold card goes down, really, if Mel isn't doing the brunt of the damage, there's not a whole lot here. Also, I'm looking at the build right now from RSH. This is Kraken Slayer. Are we back all the way back? I can't even remember. When was around the time the Twisted Fate Top was the
2023?
thing? Yeah, are we back
2023?
in 2023? What's going on with this one? It's interesting. It's first strike too with AD. I don't know. See, we got to kind of remain a little bit unbiased here, Golden God, and kind of see the bright side of these picks here. But I don't really see the synergy right now with the first strike and the AD. That's kind of puzzling me. And going back to your point about the burst, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Maybe they feel they just need that DPS, and Twisted Fate is the only source where that's going to come from.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it in an angle of, okay, you know, eventually this Camille's going to outscale our Ornn, as far as at least in the 1v1. Maybe if TF gets a couple kills, could actually match that in the side lane. That's kind of the only angle I'm really seeing for the pick, which could definitely be valid if you're able to actually bring Vi over as well and really set up those ganks come mid-game. But, you know, by the tempo so far Dorado has, it's just they're getting choked out too quickly. They need to hit some of their big power spikes here and eventually Ornn items as well. But now there's a fight going on this bot side as
We're seeing a
John.
TP, and John's out. John got the heroic entrance, and Beniona just committed a whole teleport for this. So if you're Team Coconuts, you guys got to make something happen because look at your top side. It is going to be absolutely annihilated. It is feats of strength secured already for Dorado because they got all 3 objectives. They got those first 3 kills. Now Beniona is staying. RSH is here as well. They're going to look for this dive. Here comes the Call of the Forge God. Teleport is coming in to assist them, but they're using the gold card on the wrong target. Hoshiyumi is going to fall, but it's just going to be a trade. Now Joker and Void in hot pursuit. Flash away from Beniona, but the Hex Tech ultimatum goes down onto RSH. My friend, you're not going anywhere. No flash to escape. Beniona tries to save the TF, but it's just too late. Missile barrage from Joker will claim the kill. Killing spree for the Corky. Dorado absolutely have a chokehold on this one.
It just reeks of desperation. They knew they had to make a play, but at the same time, you have your Rel that actually committed the back on that play, so you just don't have the same support that you would expect for the dive, and it just goes so awry for them. I mean, you know, you get desperate after you committed a couple resources onto this Galio who just made a heroic exit, and, you know, at that point, they felt like they were pigeonholed, and they still lost the top lane turret anyways. I feel like that's a game-losing play.
It is absolutely game losing. It is full control for Dorado. You're absolutely right. And the gold leads that, like you just saw, are in the hands of Dorado in pretty much every single lane. There's a slight CS difference in the mid lane, but that's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. John is just going to be the support player to all the carries like Joker and Void. And I hate to be super cynical from the standpoint that we talked about earlier, but this might have something to do, and you know what? I think it's actually safe to say this definitely has something to do with the fact that, you know, Team Coconuts is unfortunately fielding 3 substitutes. Now, we're not talking about the fact that the substitutes just aren't performing, but there always is going to be, like you mentioned, Golden God, that synergy that is lacking when you do have to field this many new players to the roster. And I feel like part of that is playing into the lack of success that Coconuts is finding.
Yeah. I just think it's going to be pretty difficult. The Mel isn't really that online, and you're going to have a big difficulty actually taking down the Galio that's going to be building this Hollow Radiance. I mean, your damage is going to have to come from the Vi with some of that max HP damage, I'm sure, to actually take him down. But it's going to be pretty difficult. I just don't see that great of an opportunity to get back into this one, especially with all the objectives going the way of Dorado. With a couple level leads on crucial members could really put them in the dirt. Colby,
Colby's
though.
found Jim Cantor. Here comes the call of the Forge God. They're actually combining a whole lot of damage onto Jim, and they just dropped. Finally, they get something going. The CC was too much to handle, and the cavalry is here as well. Hoshiumi and John have to be so careful. The Gallery is going to go down as well. That's a shutdown to the Ornn. This is potentially the play for Team Coconuts that might bring them back into this game. A spark of life for them, at the very least.
I think they might lose this top lane turret. No one's really TPing to it, so I think it's just going to go down because of 6 grubs. So if anything, it's actually still not that great of a play, but at least Karma getting caught on the bot side. Otacon, you know, now determined on the bot side, but not spawning anytime soon, so you really can't get that much of a good advantage on this bot side, besides maybe taking down this turret on the bot side. It does have that turret bounty on it, about 200 gold for the outer, so TF's going to be able to grab that with the help of the Vi. So they're going to get some gold back on the table, and a pretty big mistake here from Dorado, but I still don't think it matters that much because they couldn't really snowball it into anything greater.
Yeah, there just wasn't any neutral objectives that were up and available. It's still a 3,000 gold lead for Dorado, and it is a little bit concerning from Dorado's side that they were not aware, especially Hoshiumi's death towards the tail end of that fight. I feel like they were out, and then they went back in 3 versus 1 and ended up dying. But if they're all together, they should be okay still. Like you said, Golden God, they got the big gold lead. Void's teleport coming off a cooldown soon. The same thing for Beniona. And I feel like we could potentially have a fight here. Did the Rift Herald already go down? I thought I saw something was spawning there soon. But it doesn't look like that's the case. There's nothing in the pit. I'm seeing things. You know what?
I also saw the hourglass. I'll say that. I think it's just a visual bug. I think it's because Rift Herald used to spawn at 1530, and now it spawns at 1630, so I think there's just a bug. Oh no, there it is, 16 exact. Okay, cool.
There we go. So I wasn't going crazy. So thank you for confirming that with me, Golden Guy. And there we go. Everyone in chat can know that, hey, you know what? You don't have someone who's completely delusional casting this best of 3. But we're going to see if Team Coconuts, they want to contest here on this objective.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a little bit less prowess since they just didn't have as many members initially, but Camille, once again, just, you know, exerting so much pressure on the side lane. As long as Hoshiumi doesn't get caught here, just clearing these vision, this should be a pretty free Rift Herald. Vampire Holly sticking around at such low HP, especially going into the mounted form. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to get in. As Colby now trying to look for a steal. They're going to TP in. They actually want this fight.
They do want it. Now, Taunt's already going to be used, so John's not going to have that luxury, but there's a Justice Punch right to Colby's face, and that might just be the knockout punch they needed. Flashing away, but that's going to be followed up by Jim Cantor, and now the onslaught will proceed. Able to trade one back is Team Coconuts, but here comes Void. Joker's untouched. Hextech Ultimato's going to lock down Vampire Holly, who could not even get involved in the fight, and once again, Dorado, after a couple mistakes a few minutes prior, take control back and grab themselves the Herald.
This Camille is in just such a dominant position. It forces Arya out of the fight just by pure aura. So wasn't actually able to fight anything out. So let's watch this again. You see Camille come on the backside, and instantly Vampire Holly has to just make an escape. And in the meantime, they're able to at least secure the Xin Zhao with comboing a bunch of their damage. But, you know, they don't have that much after the initial couple damage bursts. And you could see how difficult it is to actually shred through some of these tankier members. So I just think it's going to be so difficult. They need to really play the map well, but having such a deficit in the top side is going to be a big detriment for their actual capabilities as far as playing the map and able to allocate resources where it's necessary. They're going to have to over-allocate, and that's going to result in you losing stuff across the map.
Yeah, they need to find, like, a knock-up or some type of engage. Call the Forge God onto everyone so they can layer that burst onto everyone. Even at that point, are you killing this Camille? She's got Merc Treads. She's got 2 items. She is the highest level, or at least, and at the same level as the highest level in the game. It's going to be hard to burst out the champion. Galio as well, with that Hollow Radiance, with that Merc Treads. Even the Twisted Fate, building attack damage is still going to be doing a little bit of that magic damage. So it's going to be hard to knock down these targets. I'm basically just echoing exactly what you said. I don't really know what their way out of this is. Vampire Holly's got to do some magical stuff on the rails. John is going to walk into Colby. Yep, that's a buy. Inside of the brush. He's going to proc this phase rush, but the Justice Punch is going to be canceled. Forced to flash out. Colby does have Cease and Desist. They're going to use the Call of the Forge God instead, maybe wanting to hold on to that Summoner spell. On the other side of the map, the Rift Herald is summoned. John just caught on the side of the map here. It looks like the trade will be this tier 1. Void's actually jumping on in. Going to use the Hextech Ultimatum onto Arya, who is still alive, has a good chunk of HP, but look at that Precision Protocol. It does a whole lot of damage, but Void is going to end up dropping. Unfortunately, the shutdown goes to Vampire Holly. The play will continue. RSH is here, has to flash away. 2 turrets now go down. Colby on the flank, still has Cease and Desist. Doesn't want the smoke, though. This Corki is strong. I think that's a wise choice.
Yeah, some crucial, like, kind of overcommittals on the top side from John is still gonna, but it's still gonna result in a pretty good play overall for Dorado anyways. As I said, you have to overcommit resources to actually be able to generate anything, but it's gonna be hard to actually find anything if the cross map's also being threatened. So you see 2 turrets go down in exchange for basically John and Void's life, and you take down Arya. I think it's honestly not that bad. Void did have quite a bit of a big bounty, so it was about 700 gold. Towards that Mel, I believe. So at the very least, the gold went into the right person's pocket. But still, that's another drag. You're at 3 drags at 19 minutes. And this is the one season in League of Legends history where getting dragon stacking is probably the hardest. You know, getting all those drakes is definitely much more difficult. You're seeing souls at like 40 minutes nowadays sometimes, just because of how much fighting there is for other objectives. So, you know, seeing 3 drakes stacked on the table is definitely extremely dangerous. And with Ruinous, Voracious Otacon on the board. Somehow, we're at 25 kills and it's at Voracious. I don't know how this works, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems, you know what? There is there's 2 different ways that Voracious works. It tallies up the kills to determine which Otacon it's going to be, and it also tallies up the damage. So if there's not a lot of trading in lane, it's just like a burst of fights, then that definitely plays into the reason why we see a lot more Voracious Otacons in competitive. I have actually, even in Titan, I have yet to see a Ruinous Otacon. So, you know, in tier 1 leagues, we haven't seen a Ruinous, I don't think, but like in pro play. But even in amateur scene, I haven't seen a single Ruinous. So it's tough. And I also, hold on a second, Jim Cantor has found Vampire Holly, is going to use the crash down to try and escape. Has to use the flash as well because the slows are in, but the rest of Dorado does not care. They're here for the whole chase, and they want the lady on the horse, and they will get her. Maybe take their looks towards this hungry Otacon.
Yeah, top lane turret, though, is going down, so this is pretty much optimal conditions here for Team Coconuts as they're able to actually commit Twisted Fate onto the top side, and I'd assume actually go for this fight on the bot side to try and bait someone over, but John also has TP, so he still could match the TF as they're now going to engage.
They're jumping right on in. Colby is going to get hit with this Hextech Ultimatum. Goes onto the Cease and Desist to the Camille. That's a huge call to Forge God. There isn't a whole lot of follow-up. They're able to grab one. That's Hashiyumi that's going to fall. But now Arya is under siege. Has literally no one around him to keep them safe. And Void will grab that kill. John also TP'd into the play. RSH as well. But this was a Dorado win. And Otacon is up next.
Yeah, Dorado knew they had to pull the trigger early to ensure that RSH is not there in time for the fight. And, you know, it works out. They find the damage. It looked a little scary, but if the TF was there, I think they could have actually gotten wiped here on Dorado's side. So great awareness there as now they're maybe looking for a fight here. RSH maybe wants to try and steal, but a nice smite will secure it as they are able to just walk it out now. So, yeah, either way, that was at least a good attempt here for Team Coconuts, but Dorado had the right call there and actually turned. So now they're going to have this Otacon for a nice 150 seconds. It's actually going to kind of transition perfectly into Baron. Maybe not actually for the fight, but you could probably bait them over at a perfect 25-minute Baron and maybe try and commit your withdrawals for that.
Yeah, let's see how good Dorado's Otacon usage is, because I myself, I've been pretty critical of Otacon usage in competitive across all levels because, hey, even the pro players, they get caught doing a whole lot of inting sometimes. Fun fact, even if you die with this buff, if your whole team dies and you get no kills for that, that's still 1,000 gold that goes over to the other team. So you do still have to play relatively cautious. Let's see what Dorado does. I like what you highlighted there about if they force a fight, they get some kills, they're going to get those early respawns. Again, 15 seconds instead of 5.5 compared to 15.2. But then they could move over to either the Baron or this Cloud Soul that's
Bot
coming
lane,
up
though.
for them.
We're
We're
looking
going
for
to see Call of the
Galio.
Forge God. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Somehow they found a pick, and they found John, so at the very least, that's one Otacon down.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get Galio, who's kind of the member that, I mean, is kind of the hardest one to take down, and I think also provides the biggest problem for their comp as well. So that's at least getting that withdrawal is going to mean John might play a bit more reserved than you would otherwise. I mean, definitely save that flash for the upcoming fights, but you don't want to see any members kind of go down in isolation without anything in return. So lucky for him, he had the Otacon, but it's going to be a little bit of a detriment to that tempo that Dorado was trying to set up for this Baron.
And they're
Actually, it
going to
looks like they're going for
probably...
drag instead. They're setting a vision on that side. Sorry. Just cutting in.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, they can go for either or, really. And I don't think it matters which one they decide to go for. Although I think Soul is the right choice, hence the reason why they're sitting around here. Again, it's the permanent buff over the temporary buff. Now they could actually end from this point with a Baron, but it's kind of like a win-win situation here. You know what? Dorado is kind of floating two options that are both quite enticing, but they do want to make sure that they don't give over that Drake. And now they're waiting around the pit, and let's see. We're kind of like a last-ditch effort here for Coconuts. They lose this fight here, then things are really going to end up going south for them.
Yeah, Camille is pushing on the top side, so they need to play this quickly. And you could see they're desperate. They want this fight. Jim Cantor has to burn that Crescent Guard immediately.
They're trying to go onto Jim Cantor, flashing away. Here comes the heroic entrance as well. So the engage has kind of been dismantled for the side of Team Coconuts, but they've been able to find one Hextech ultimatum. Now Void's joined the play, but Void is all of a sudden dying. What is going on? It looks like Team Coconuts is winning this fight. Joker has to flash away, but Barionia is going to follow that immediately. RSH is going to flank with the Destiny. What have we seen, Golden Gad? We didn't really believe it in our hearts. We said it, but I didn't really believe it. Now I believe it. They found the ace, and they are going to get the dragon.
Yeah, somehow, some way, Colby just doesn't go down. I don't know if there was a bit of a misplay there from Void. The HP bar just didn't really go down after it did end up going low with the Hextech ultimatum. I mean, Galio, yeah, doesn't have that much damage, but I feel like that should have been a secured kill. And now they're going to find themselves a dragon and a Baron on top of it, and also the bot lane turret. So this is a huge swing, and you could see now they're just ahead in gold. And the Otacon also expired, so these are full-length death timers. Somehow, some way, Team Coconuts finds the angle in what looked like an unwinnable game to actually be able to pick this up.
Now, they do have to be careful. Jim Cantor is on the way, is getting very close to this pit. Oh boy, we might see ourselves a smite steal. He gets the win, becomes lightning, but just can't get there in time. And the Baron is secured from Team Coconuts. Can they get it was the question. Void, but the hookshot's just going to miss. Vampire Holly's going to cancel her recall. Bariona is going to do the same. Call the Forge God is going to roll through. Second charge, not going to happen. John is on the long flank. Void is going to flash the hook shot to try and get in close. Here comes Colby, though. This is 5 versus 3. This could be a disaster for the side of Team Coconuts. They might just lose all their Barons and potentially the game if they all drop here. Golden Eclipse is pretty big, and they're actually able to trade back 2 kills, making this a 3 versus 3. So much damage from this melt. Are you kidding me? What in the world is this champion? Holy crap, what was that? A phosphorus bomb of some kind. But Arya is the hero of this play. This is what this champion can do.
Yeah, Mel just absolutely obliterated 3 members there with that Golden Eclipse. I mean, this champ hasn't been out that long. Knowing some of these damage rotations could be, you might not just be that used to it. Especially considering, wasn't able to be played 2 weeks ago for Titan, so pretty much second week in action. And yeah, I mean, that was just it looked like the end here for Team Coconuts, but somehow the Mel damage plus some of that CF AD damage actually coming through and finding those kills. And I think it's partially due to this Galio being so low econ. We talked about how that's a good thing because you get to allocate resources to other members, but in reality means that you don't have that much damage if the Corki isn't there firing on all cylinders. So yeah, I mean, now Dorado's kind of in a tighter spot. I don't know if this means that they're going to guaranteed lose. That being said, but they definitely need to find this Mel in these fights, and that W is doing a great job of dissuading so many of the main engage options here.
And now Team Coconuts are on the offensive. It's finally their turn, and they've scaled. They can now start throwing the punches, and they are ready to do exactly that. Arya is dangerous, is almost on that death cap power spike. And I like the point that you mentioned about, low econ Galio can be good. Not 5,000 gold down, though. That was 5,000 gold that we saw on the gold graph. 4 items are completed for RSH. And I'm going to keep it a stack. You know what? I was hating on the ADTF. You know, it had first strike. I was saying, what the hell is going on here? Okay, I'll shut up. You got hands or cards more like it. And they're ready to win this game. They're sieging the base. They're getting good damage onto this mid tower. And what is Dorado going to do now? Because their world has just been flipped upside down. They thought they had this game in the bag. I thought they had this game in the bag too. They're going to try and make a desperation play here onto RSH. They've got the heroic entrance plus the Hextech ultimatum. Nowhere for RSH to go. Caught out in the side lane. No response play here for Team Coconuts, but they're going on in anyways. They're looking for the kill onto the Karma, and they have found it. Joker's going to be the next target. Vampire Holly has found her engage, but they found Colby in the backline. Arya is still untouched. Huge steering charge is going to knock up 3, but now the disengage is coming through for Coconuts. What can Arya do? Can they do enough damage? They're going to throw through the root, and they can find 1 kill. Can they find any more? The question is, the answer is, they can. Jim Cantor has to flash away. Arya still stands strong, and Coconuts hold strong at the base.
Yeah, Joker getting forced out of the fight was so crucial. If there was the Phosphorus Bomb on top of that engage, it could have been disastrous there, but Arya is keeping themselves safe so well, making it so difficult to find the crucial member on the backside. And because they committed, I was about to talk about how the only option to kill this Mel is definitely going to be that Hextech ultimatum. It's a heroic entrance combo, but they had to commit it on the bot side to actually be able to secure this slippery TF. And I will say also, some of that damage is so easy to W out. As the Mel, you could actually find yourself with the same HP as that engage started. So you're seeing kind of the strengths of this champion and why it's so prevalent, at least in solo queue, and definitely starting to pick up a little bit more in pro as well.
You can see how dangerous losing team fights is when your whole team has bounties, because all of a sudden, look at the gold that Arya has. Almost full build on this Mel. Death Cap is done, now has a Hextech alternator working towards that last item. This is absurd damage that is going to be put onto the members of Dorado. And they actually can't eat through this front line, which is another problem that Dorado's facing, because Beniona is absolutely meaty on this Ornn. It is a whole shield to try and get through, and that shield is nearly indestructible. And Vampire Holly doing an excellent job as well. They're just going to take down this Drake. Void has gone over to the bot side, and maybe Dorado is just going to try and play the side lane game because, again, those team fights, they're just not working.
Yeah, and now with all of the masterworks coming out from the Ornn as well, it just becomes that much more difficult. Any of the benefits you get from the feats of strength are completely dwarfed by the power of the masterworks. I mean, you know, we're talking incremental buffs here for those tier 3 boots, whereas masterworks, I mean, just notably, I know that Rabadon's gets 50 AP on top of the passive stacking on top of that. So trust me, the buffs now at this point when Ornn's at level 15 are definitely playing a big factor here, and I think they need to leverage the side lane more. Yeah, Void already on the side lane, getting kind of corralled now. You're seeing everyone kind of rotate towards the top side. I think Void's dead.
Void is gonna, you know, you got a whole lot of outplaying to do if you're gonna get out of this one. I think Void is accepting their fate, trying to go the other way and delay as much time as possible, but RSH gonna use the Destiny and say, you're not going anywhere there, pal. Hextech Ultimate is gonna cancel the gold card, but what's done is done. There really is no counterplay for Dorado anywhere else. They're gonna push down mid, they're gonna buy themselves some time, but we got 15 seconds to go on this Baron Golden God, and Dorado does not have a top laner for the next 45.
Yeah, this is the exact call I thought Dorado should make. They have no call to Forge God. They should just try and push bid to at least force the members away from that objective. And maybe look for Mel on the rotate. That's the only angle I could really see to maybe finding something here. So you can see they are in that bush. They're probably going to go for it in just a second as soon as she spots on that ward. As now they're going to look for her. She's forced to flash in that mid lane. And now they're going to kind of converge back towards that Baron. But it's just so scary walking into this Rel Ornn.
They kind of have a pincer maneuver going on. They got a couple people DPSing down the Baron, and guess what? RSH, look at all that attack speed. Look at all that DPS. That purple worm is gone. It's in the hands of Team Coconut. Actually has a needlessly large rod in the inventory. I feel like that's going to build into maybe a Zanya's Hourglass, just to stay safe from all of the dive potential that Dorado has. After that one play bot side, RSH is probably saying, I'm done with all this. You know what? You want to jump on me? I got gold. Oh,
did you see
I think I saw that in the corner of my. I did see that.
Yeah. Beniona? Question mark?
You know what? You know, talk yourself, dude. You don't need the flash to win. Hey, that's probably what.
You know, usually if you're gonna flex it, you should do it when you're in vision of the enemy team. You know, it's
true. Like, yeah. Now they don't even know. So There's no real flex there. Beniona, you got to step up your intentional flashing game.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we advocate here at Titan Esports. Some very friendly BM.
And they don't know. They don't know the Orn is without that flash. Void thought about that hook shot. Not going to do it. Dorado, they give over this inhibitor. Golden Gad, I did not expect to be kind of in this type of situation here. We're in a really tense spot. Inhibitor towers are being sieged. The base is being cracked open, and now is the time where Dorado's saying, we're going for this. They're trying to jump on RSH. You don't have that Zonius quite yet, and they will explode. The next target is going to be Beniona. There is no Mel around to save them. It's actually a 1 versus 1 on the other side of the map. Void's able to finish off Beniona. Somehow Jim Cantor is in a 1 versus 3, but homie, you got no teammates nearby. It will still be a 2 for 1, though, and Dorado will keep the base safe.
Yeah, they find a bit of a window there where RSH is still vulnerable. Now with 6 items in their pocket, going to be a little bit more difficult to lock down. But yeah, I think Jim Cantor was sent on a solo mission to just stall the Mel from being able to enter that fight. Unfortunately, the Crescent Guard actually ran out, so did end up going down. But still, I'd say mission at least accomplished in that way. They defend the top lane inhibitor, so you only get to worry about 1 wave of supers. And yeah, you stall out the game when, you know, we were talking about how over the game was after that botch bot lane dive and extremely desperate as well. But, you know, with that one fight right in front of the Otacon, or right after the Otacon expired, just completely turned the table there on its head. So Team Coconut, I mean, at this point, they should have quite a bit of an easier time finding this one, but Void is still going to be pretty scary, even in some of these team fights.
And Void does have good scaling of their own. And we've seen moments in sort of this dark time for Dorado where they've kind of fallen behind, where they've actually won fights. Case in point, what just happened topside. They still have Camille Gallio. The thing is, they keep finding RSH, and RSH isn't necessarily the biggest target for them. They need to take down Arya. And where Arya is, the rest of Team Coconuts is. So not only can you knock down Arya, you can also probably get the rest of the team, then maybe march down to the base. Let's see what Void can do, though, on this bot side. Is Tron going up against Beniona in that 1 versus 1? Can they get to the point where they can just ignore them and knock down this tower? It looks like they're just going to reset and try and look for this Drake fight.
RSH forced to flash out, but now Colby wants to re-engage. They think they overstepped.
They got the taunt onto 2. This is Arya, or... No, is it Arya? No, it's RSH under trouble. Arya is good and safe. That's the only thing that really matters here for Coconut. If Arya can deal this damage. Void is teleported in. Beniona's teleported in as well. Here comes the call of Void's got how many members can it knock up? It is 3. Vampire Holly has found an insane engage as well. There goes the Golden Eclipse. It does a whole lot of damage, but this fight is still pretty close. 4 versus 3 right now for Dorado, but 1 more will drop. Joker is now singled out. Could this be the final nail in the coffin? They are so low, blinking health bars. Team Coconut might just have to settle for the Drake.
At the very least, they're able to get away from that engage, or the re-engage from Colby. Joker now the last kind of hope for this team. They can't really shut through Beniona that quickly, and Arya is able to just find so much damage with that Golden Eclipse again. So it's just much more difficult for them to play it out. RSH wants the stun, finds it on the Galio, but now the turrets are under threat. I don't know if they have the damage to contest this.
This is dangerous, but my gosh, Arya just finds the route onto 2. Again, we said the undodgeable route. Well, in this moment, it certainly feels that way. John is trying to do something very desperate here, gets the Zonias off and able to clear the way, but another one is walking on up. John has to get out very close, but there is that execute. Golden Eclipse Mel is absolutely running this game. 12-3 now. So close for Coconuts. They just got one last little step left in their journey.
This is when I just say, thank God it's Fearless. So we don't have to see this champion again, at least for the rest of this best of 3, because it looks absolutely disgusting. Yes, it had a little bit of a rough early game, but after that early game, it really hasn't mattered. And I feel like if you just drafted a little bit more kind of lane-focused support, you really could have just gotten out of that lane scot-free. So either way, it's looking scary here now for Dorado, who was on such a higher point earlier on in the game, and now they find themselves on just a major decline. They do have the Baron spawning here, so maybe they could find some sort of flip. But getting through this Ornn, which has, I don't know, 7,000 HP, is going to be so difficult, as now Hoshiumi is probably going to go down.
Hoshiumi, but here's Jim Cantor. They got friends. It's 2 versus 2. They've used a pretty big ultimate, has Team Coconuts, but Beniona, This is a determined Orn. Holy moly, going straight for Hoshiyuma. That is some aggression. We like to see that. It's the intentional flashing. Now it is the engage without the ultimate. The whole fight is going to break loose now. We got pandemonium in the middle of everyone. Look at this heroic entrance, but it's not going to end up mattering. Joker has fallen. There is no damage left for Dorado. The blue health bars are still very healthy. Arya is so fed on this. Mel, only 2 remain. You thought that they were going to go down, but in the end, they had it all under control this entire time. Coconuts, 3 substitutes, doesn't matter. They are going to take game number 1 and take a 1-0 lead in this series.
What a nice flank there from Arya to just pick off the Corki to start the fight. I think that mattered so much there. Gonna unfortunately lose one point in the KDA there at the very end, but I mean that they made it dominant there at the very end here for Team Coconuts. I feel like they figured out their spot, and once you get into that scaling position with the TF fully itemed up and also the Ornn with those masterwork upgrades, it just becomes so much easier to play out here for them. So they're gonna take game 1 in a game where it looked like it was over. I mean, by all respects, we called it. We were like, oh, well, I don't know if they could even do anything. They don't have that many good options left, and they still win. I don't know.
I will say, it is still, it was a really close game. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows in this one for Coconuts, because they did have a very rough early game. They made a whole lot of poor decisions, especially macro-wise. We talked about that disastrous TP that Beniona made. If they didn't win that fight after the Otacon, this game probably was wrapped. It was probably it after that. But they did get that lead back. Look at that swing. That is a perfect mirror of what actually happened. You see all that red gold, and it's all given over to the blue side. Once they had that lead, they did play with it very, very well. And Arya was impossible to crack in this backline and was unequivocally the MVP for at least this game for the side of Team Coconuts. That's a tough pill to swallow if you are Dorado. We'll see if they can kind of regain their mental and bounce back again. Fearless, we won't see the Mel again. We'll see a whole fresh new set of 10 champions in the next one, and we will bring that to you after this very short break. Don't go anywhere. This series will conclude right after this, or continue rather.
550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hate plotting my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the information. I'm a superstar, so I gotta shine. Top dollar be the bottom line. Bottom feeding niggas out of line. Turn your heart rate to a dotted line. Yeah, my zodiac probably dollar sign. Got the energy to win it, my nigga, I'm feeling great. Got a day with destiny, focusing on my fate. I don't give a fuck what you rapping, you been a fake. I'm everything that they ain't, it can't be, it won't be. Wanna see me fall, I can't go, I won't leave. Coming from the block with plain clothes and police. Straight up to the top with bankrolls and rollies. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, 12 can't really stop shit, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot shit. In the yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting bitches with the old well. Need 100 million on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best nigga. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing kush clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Oh,
Welcome back to the Immortal League. We got a pretty interesting series on our hands. Yeah, we thought it was definitely going to be Dorado take game number 1. Instead, Team Coconuts, pretty miraculous comeback. A team fight after Otacon gives them a massive gold swing, and then they just run from that. And also, Mel, ladies and gentlemen, is a champion in League of Legends. Believe it or not, I know it's pretty insane. You don't
that
need
character
to
from
see
Arcane?
any further clarification on what else happened with that one
Yeah,
victory.
pretty much for the most part. I mean, they had the team fight comp advantage, and eventually it worked out, which was interesting, but it definitely was not an easy one for them at all. So seeing them come out with a victory should bode extremely well for Team Coconut here. And Dorado's got to be worried. I mean, you had such a good early game where it felt like they ticked all the right boxes. You make one big mistake and you just don't recover from it. And you made a couple tinier mistakes before that kind of, and then there's one big play to kind of blow it all open. You got to be more careful in those scenarios. So seeing Dorado go down once again, 2 Team Coconuts with 3 subs, definitely not looking good for at least this best of 3. Obviously, they'll have another week to kind of workshop if they end up losing this one. So they could definitely kind of adapt after that. But coming off of game 1, a little scary.
Definitely a little scary. Before we get into the draft for game number 2, we have another episode of Kiss, Marry, Kill. Favorite here at Titan Esports. And we got a brand new addition. We got Heartseeker Varus, we've got Crystal Rose Seraphine, and we got Lovestruck Echo. You might be wondering, I've never seen Crystal Rose Seraphine. I've never seen Lovestruck Echo either. Well, Wild Rift exclusive skins. Unless we got some Wild Rifters up in the chat, up and around Titan Esports, then hey, you might actually have one of these skins. But these were our picks. I guess we'll start with you, Golden. Why'd you choose what you choose? And give us the breakdown.
All right. Pretty simple here. Echo after Arcane, I mean, that's just a lover boy. That's an easy marry for me. TBH. And then Seraphine, I was so close to killing Seraphine. I was on the edge because I was like, well, I hate this champion in game. If I have to play against a Seraphine, I might be the one that dies. So I very much considered it. However, I had to consider the ramifications of Varus, okay? Varus got 3 dudes, and I know Golden's going to be a little upset I'm taking this point, at least to introduce it. That's too many men. That's too many men. I'm scared of that. It's going to have to be a kill.
At the very least, I think they're on the inside though, so it's kind of like you're only seeing one guy. And I guess I'll talk about my picks as a segue here. One guy and one nice chiseled man. Look at that. That guy he literally looks like Cupid as the whole god. So I gave Varus a kiss there. And then honestly, hey man, I like your point about Echo. Arcane Echo, yeah, pretty cool. But this isn't Arcane Echo. This is not the Firefly Echo. This is Lovestruck Echo. And I'm gonna be honest here, whole lot going on. So I don't know, it wasn't catching the vibes. And usually that doesn't warrant killing someone, but this is the games we play at Titan Esports. So I'm sorry, Echo, but you're gone. And that leaves me to marry Seraphine. Sorry, Golden. I'm marrying, I guess, your arch nemesis of in-game league picks.
I mean, I still gave her a kiss. I mean, that's not that crazy, but yeah.
Well, we can see as well, we saw what Wookiee and Golden's picks were, and that's KMK. And this is draft for game number 2 between Team Coconuts and Dorado Gaming Zeta. We're staying on the same sides. We're probably going to see the same bands as well. This is Fearless is kind of just how it goes, especially when we're starting off with that Ivor band. But I guess as a opening talking about here, for Arya, now that the Mel is gone, again, this player's autofill, do we see as strong of a performance from this player? What kind of picks could they pull out here that could kind of replicate that success?
Yeah, I was actually just about to call out the Hui in particular. Maybe you just leave it open to maybe try and force a B1 there, but they're still going to ban it out. They don't want to have to play with it either. And Dorado's just doing the same thing as last time. So is Coconuts. They're not really changing their strategy here. This is kind of what Fearless does. You kind of have locked bans if there isn't anything too crazy. But Echo is actually something that's new, not actually on the table last time. I'm forgetting what the actual ban was in that last one that was in that spot, but whatever that was could potentially be that first pick here, as yeah, Dorado just has locked bans on those 3 junglers, and they're just going to keep it up. So first picks, expect strong 80 carries. Well, as strong as an 80 carry could be in this meta. Or Mbessa, yeah, that's the one that was banned, of course. So that's going to be the first lock-in here for Beniona or potentially RSH if they are comfortable on that pick.
Yeah, it's interesting. Beniona likes to play the Renekton, likes to play Orin, likes to play Cassante. So this is maybe a champion with, Renekton and Cassante. They're kind of similar in a sense. They do have some dashes, could be up Iona's alley. And the primary Ambessa counter has been picks like Rumble and Renekton. So Void is going to opt into that Renekton pick here, and they're going to go for the Wukong. So they've got some engage. It'd be nice to get some follow-up engage for that as well. So I feel like we're going to get the same type of composition from Dorado that we got last time. This kind of seems to me like the way that they want to play. And Team Coconut's Golden God, they are fighting fire with fire. They're jumping in with J4. They're going to public execution. We are having a melee fist fight so far.
Yeah, and Wukong's always pretty good into melees as well, so that's pretty good. But we're going to actually see Victor, a champ that's fallen off a little bit after some of those nerfs that really targeted that early game and brought him in line. So seeing it picked here could be kind of scary. You're leaving up here counter pick for mid, and I was just about to mention Akali, and there it is right there. This is a champion that once you hit level 6, Victor is completely useless, and with the nerfs has really tipped it in Akali's favor more, because he's not bullying Akali as much as he used to in that pre-6 environment. So Akali's just able to kind of free scale and go into these team fights. But knowing Team Coconuts, they should have known that Akali was going to be that option on that pick there. So yeah, pretty interesting. But they're actually banning Orianna, which is a little bit strange considering Akali is locked in already. I think that's probably just a misban. And then on the other side, we got Kai'Sa Lulu, so some of those more either aggressive or a little bit more protective of identities getting banned out here.
Vampire Holly is more of that enchanter player. So things like those lose, hence the reason why Dorado took it away. Seraphine, Nami, Sona. The only other champion I really had noted down for Vampire Holly is that Rel, which was picked last game. So Varus is going to be locked in for Joker. Again, I'm putting heavy emphasis on Joker in this game just because Joker is one of the primary carries for this team and has been for Dorado so far. So we need a strong performance out of Joker if they want to bring this to a game number 3. Going to pick the Jinx here. They are going to have to blind support. It's very dangerous. I assume this is going to be an enchanter pickup here for Vampire Holly just to empower that Jinx. It's going to be that Milio. This counter pick in support, I feel like it's going to be kind of hard to pick hard engage into Milio. The Super Mega Fireball Kick can do a good job of disengaging that. But this is the Power R5 pick. It's going to be the Maokai Golden Cat. I don't know how much I like that in terms of a lane perspective.
Okay, lore. I used to play a ton of Maokai support. I hate this matchup for Maokai. It is so annoying to play into Emilio. And also, he gets to burn his ult and just get rid of Grasping Root. Like, your ult just is completely irrelevant as the Maokai as well. So I don't know what they're cooking with this Maokai pick. It does provide a bit more structure to their fights where you can kind of isolate anyone who does dive in, but it's still going to be pretty difficult. And I was going to complain that Jarvan is the only solo engage, but, with this Milio getting locked in and the Maokai getting picked up, you kind of are a solo engage Wukong on the opposite side too in some way here. So I think it's going to be pretty difficult for either of these teams to really find a huge pop-off unless they get super ahead again. So we'll have to see how that actually plays out. But as far as bot lanes are concerned, Varus is very powerful. Maokai, a little bit more of a, I'm going to burst someone, I'm going to find that pick. But Milio is so good at neutralizing that, so I'm kind of worried for that bot lane there.
It is more of a pick composition for Dorado's side. Wukong is that hard engaged champion. The Cyclone is very effective, but I said this early in draft. Wukong needs someone to help him out, someone to follow it up with that. So things like a Galio in the mid lane that they played last game would have been nice with a Wukong. But Wukong might just be jumping in and dying real fast unless someone's there to back him up. So they should be playing more to the Chains of Corruption from Varus or a Flash Twisted Advance from Hoshiyumi's Maokai. So this is more of a pick composition that I see, and they do have the Arcane Comment on Joker's Varus. So they're going to try and beat out this Jinx early on. They do get outscaled, but they have the tools to find the picks. On the other side, yeah, you do have the good matchup for John with the Akali into Victor. But how much value does an Arcane Storm have into this team that you see here, Golden, that Dorado's drafted?
Yeah, that's a great point there. That it's going to be a little bit hard to actually contest, but Akali can do Akali things, and if you're able to actually kind of nullify RSH, then you can turn around with this Maokai threat and maybe pick off the Ambessa afterwards. So definitely going to be some tricky fights here for Team Coconuts to actually navigate. There's a lot of tools that they have to account for from Dorado here. So it's not going to be that easy to play out, but there's always the consistency of a Jinx Victor, and Jarvan, as a solo engage, is still extremely consistent, especially into Varus.
That Arcane Storm, combine that with the Cataclysm, things could be very nice. We got a nice little split screen here. Shout out to our producer and our observer, that's Wookie and Golden, giving us the nice view here. We can see what's going on around the rift. And I mean, you mentioned the Maokai into Milio. I think we can circle back to this point. How much value can you get early on? You talked about how reliable Jinx is with the Victor. Look, they just lose priority. Now they hit the level 2, but look at the spacing. This is nice. This is exactly how Arya and Vampire Holly want to play this lane. If there's no lead from Joker and Hoshiumi, this Jinx is going to kind of run the show right now unless they can find a one-shot with the pick composition later on. So this will be kind of the thing to pay attention to. Maybe Jim Cantor can get involved, but they're pathing away. This is going to be a topside focused game with Beniona, at least for the moment, pushed up and maybe vulnerable in a couple minutes' time.
I will say if it is going to be a top lane focused game, at the very least, Varus does win the isolated matchup into the Jinx. So that's something they can maybe look to leverage. Maokai just starts early roaming, kind of outpacing the Melio kind of towards the mid game, but still not going to be so easy to get there at this point, as they are going to get a nice shove in. And Jarvan is going to be on this bot side, whereas Wukong's on this top. So definitely a little bit more pressure on their side of the map. Not sure if you can actually dive a Maokai. Seems very unlikely, but at the very least, they should be able to threaten out after the scuttle is going to be secured.
I'd be very upset if they tried to dive full HP, Maokai and Varus. That would be one way to throw this kind of, I wouldn't say a free lane, but a very tame lane for a Jinx, and Jinx is A-okay with that. If they go crazy and try and dive in full HP, I think that would be definitely a bad idea. And I think you know that too, Golden God. You kind of alluded to that. It's probably not a good idea to dive to Maokai.
Yeah,
Waiting inside of the brush is Jim Cantor. But yeah, no, it would be a bad idea.
I like to let the viewers figure it out, that what would be the bigger picture. I don't think it's a good idea. So yeah, wisely, they're just gonna go for a full clear here, get these scuttles up, and actually go for some quick early resets. Jarvan, most notably, is gonna be back on the map very early with double longsword, so we're gonna have pretty big threat here. For now, all the matchups pretty even. No noticeable CS leads across the board. I will say John's doing a great job here. Victor still should have some sort of advantage in this early lane, but finds himself up in CS as the Akali. So already in a great position. Not going to really get that threatened until level 6. Jim Cantor wants Beniona.
Beniona is in some trouble. The Ruthless Predator was fantastic. They got a massive chunk. Colby is here, is going to go in with the flag and drag. Not going to get a whole lot. You're really just going to get your HP chunk down. Beniona does not have the HP to help out. Somehow, Jim Cantor has this aura of being able to mind control when Beniona jumps in when he's waiting in the brush, as flashing away from a potential slice and dice play is Void. They're actually just going to flash onto Colby and get first blood. Such a nice combination, but Void is going to drop to the tower. It's going to end up being a 1-for-1. Does Jim Cantor fancy themselves a redive? Very low, but that's a level up. It's a disaster. No. That is the worst possible situation for the monkey, and that's 2 kills to the Ambessa.
Yeah, both these champions pretty cooldown bound. So you see, after that W is committed from Ambessa, should have the free kill there, but the level up coming in clutch there to secure Beniona, quite an advantage. I mean, honestly, that's just kind of a disaster because Beniona looked to be out of that lane, had to burn TP early on, just ended up buying the coal. And you get paid out anyways on the 2 kills now. So this Ambessa is as accelerated as you would like. And yeah, they just get bailed out. That is pretty unfortunate here for Dorado, and puts them very close to getting that first feat of strength.
Beniona was the very good setup player for the squad in game number 1. Now it's Beniona's turn to be the carry. Now, Void, you are going to be the one to get kicked in this top lane. Potentially, if this lead can continue, I would imagine, even though Renekton is seen as a favorable lane into Ambessa, if Ambessa gets 2 kills, things kind of start to turn for the Crocodile. And taking advantage of this strong side is Team Coconuts taking the grubs. However, there are 3 people from Dorado Zeta, 4 people actually converging onto their location. And hey, 4 is greater than 2. Team Coconuts make the pretty good decision to back on off, and that might actually be 2 grubs going back over to Dorado, unless we get a whole ring around the rosy re-engage. That's what we're going to get. They're trying to jump onto John, who gets away with the shuriken flip. Now the engage is going to come through, and Colby is gone immediately, but with the public execution, able to trade 1 back, and the Arcane Storm from the Victor will make this a 1-for-1 with still 1 Void grub remaining.
Yeah, extremely close. So that perfect execution doesn't land. I think maybe there's going to be a lot more kills there. And yes, one grub went to both of these teams, and I feel like you're pretty happy with that because you deny the feat of strength from both teams. You kind of stall out the game a little bit, and both these teams can use it pretty well. They have decent side lane options for both these top laners, and now Arya finds himself pretty tough position as
Yeah, Ari's
just
in
gonna get
trouble.
flashed on.
Oh,
Nice flash response.
Oh, I'm wincing because that was a pretty big misplay from Hashiyumi. Like that was a kill right there. You didn't have to flash so early. That gives the opportunity for Arya to flash away. If you just walked up, used the twisted advance, or just walked at the Jinx, then she flashes, then you use the twisted advance to close the gap. Maybe it would have been a kill. Instead, Arya able to live. Jim Cantor doesn't have a whole lot of friends here. John is going to try and help out the monkey, but isn't able to get over the wall. The Cyclone's being used, and actually, Jim Cantor is winning this 1v1. RSH is not able to do a whole lot. Is he able to get the grub too? He is. So making the most before he's able to drop. RSH has a flash over the wall. Beniona has to get out of dodge as well. This is 2 versus 1. Not going to close the gap on this Ambessa pick. We're seeing action across the map. Beniona, what are you doing, pal? Wants more. We're seeing a dive bot lane as well. Joker trying to find the last auto attack. Oh my goodness. Both kills go to Vampire Holly. What in the world is going on in the Rift in game 2?
Yeah, there are some crazy brawls going on. I mean, right there, Joker had the free kill, maybe could have gotten out even, but autoed the turret. So actually didn't find the last bit of damage to secure that kill. So that's going to be pretty tragic there. I will also say on this topside play, a little bit disconnected. Jim Cantor saw the angle in the fight, and no one went in to actually help out there. Akali actually hitting the shuriken flip, but didn't commit until Jim Cantor was already dead. So just a little bit confusing on the priority there. Maybe the call is just not exactly so crisp and clean after that game 1.
And now we're going to see public execution miss from Beniona. That's a solo kill. Hey, you know what? The towers do a whole lot of damage, and Void is going to be happy about getting that one back. Maybe, you know what? The 2 kills don't matter a whole lot. Look at the CS as well here, Golden Gad, 60 to 36. Void is actually in much more control of this lane than we thought. RSH has no flash, and the perfect execution is used from John. They've laid the trap nicely. RSH had no idea what was going on. Shutdown goes to Jim Cantor, and we're 6 kills to 6, 9 minutes in.
Yeah, if there's any game for a ruinous Otacon to happen, it might be this one. We'll have to wait and see if the fighting kind of continues here, as now we're looking towards the Drake. They're going for a reset here on John. Doesn't have the TP, so has a little bit of time to actually find stuff on the map, but it looks like it's going to be called off here. Nice deep ward here. I'll shout it out from... Oh, there was no ward. I thought Void was going to ward after the back, and he did not. So, unfortunately, that point is mute. I was going to say good deep ward to protect the top side as you TP back in, but didn't have one for that one. Now Void trying to trade into Beniona as Colby's on this bot side. Going to look for the Drake after they establish this pry on that bot lane wave. And yeah, they're going to just play it out. Victor at least has the Chaos Storm approaching soon. And yeah, we'll see how they end up fighting.
Blackfire Torch is done for RSH. Starting the Drake is Team Coconuts. First Drake of the game. The Victor still has priority in the mid lane, although there's a Shroud being used. But Beniona is in the mid lane, and John might just be dead, but guess what? Jim Cantor is here to save the day. Beniona trying to flash out of range, but the tower shot will go on through. Flash Cyclone. That's the R2 from Jim Cantor. RSH has nowhere to go. Can use the gravity field, but can't find the stun in time. Jim Cantor is having a generational game right now, putting the team on the back for Dorado, trying to keep him in it.
Yeah, just knowing the Victor still has no flash, just commits the flash, gets more damage through, and you're seeing some great auto-canceling from this Wukong, especially with that Tiamat, which you don't generally see as an item choice purchase that often, so definitely some good champion proficiency in this one, and now 2k gold up in the jungle just on its own. That is the entire gold difference in this game.
I will say, that's quite frightening, especially if you're Arya. You're staring down the barrel of a 5-kill Wukong, and you don't function well into this champion, let alone when they are this far ahead. It's kind of a nightmare for the Jinx. So this is going to be a big question as to whether they can actually access that backline, because you also have 2 carries to worry about in both the Victor and the Jinx. RSH and Arya going to be the targets for Jim Cantor. As we sort of approach this 15-minute mark, the next trio of grubs is up and available. The last ones had a whole lot of fighting around them. Golden Gad, I expect the exact same thing to happen here.
Yeah, they're now setting it up. It looks like Melio's going to be in the area, but somehow Akali actually has a little bit of a first move, it looks like. Going to just succeed that advantage now. Void coming from the top side. They're going to have to give it up. They won't be able to grab up this grub, and I think it's just going to have to be a give. Unless they want it. Nope. Looks like they're just going to give it away after that flag and drag is committed over the wall. So nice map movement. They're going to find themselves a nice full stack of grubs here. So they're going to get to 5. They're just going to have that one Void Might to assist in that one. And honestly, pretty well played overall. I will point out one thing about these team fights. You know, we talked about how Wukong is such a big problem for some of these isolated carries. As hold that thought, Colby's going to dive Joker real quick.
Joker, you're in for a world of hurt. There is... Wait, you stepped into the trap, Colby. That's not how this was supposed to go. There's Cataclysm available. They just decide not to use it. This could be exploding in the faces of Team Coconuts, but maybe it doesn't because that's a really nice gravity field. Now the Cataclysm is going to be used. Arya gets 1 kill, maybe a second on the table, but John is hiding inside of that shroud. Joker's very low. Joker's going to give 1 kill, more kill over to Arya. This Jinx is excited. This Jinx might just get 1 more kill. This app is going to go wide. Can they find the last auto attack? They don't have the flash. They can't close the gap. But an interesting affair here in the bot side leads to some solid wins for Team Coconuts.
Yeah, and the top side though, Beniona goes down under the turret in between the two, and they actually are able to convert that into a turret with plates. So a lot of gold still going towards this Wukong and Renekton as we get a replay on what happened on this top side. Void just able to leverage the fact that Jim Cantor is so powerful, just committing every bit of the resources to actually take him down and able to find the kill on the turret afterwards as well. I will say that bot lane dive was extremely scrappy. Could have been a disaster, but unfortunately this is going to be that lethality Varus. Not exactly as committed as a damage threat. You have to just kind of go in waves and bursts, and you saw all the bursts come out on that initial Chains of Corruption onto that Jarvan. So didn't have much left in the tank once the cavalry did arrive.
I will say, it's definitely still a better game state for Dorado's. Arya, you got to be careful here. That is a Maokai. John is right behind you as well. That's an Akali. He is going to dodge away on the Chains of Corruption, but now the Twisted Advance comes on through. John is going to miss the R2. Wait a second. We're making misplays left, right, and center. Vampire Holly is going to claim the kill, but it will be the successful dive defense. Get them some teammates. Someone help the bot lane of Team Coconuts right now. They are fighting for their lives. Flashing away from the turret is John. The Super Mega Death Rocket connects, so still Arya will trade one back now. Finally, someone's here, but Colby, it's all but too late. Unless you can summon another teammate here to knock him down. Maybe gonna look for Joker anyways. This would be a pretty crazy play. Gonna flag and drag forward. That's not where Joker went. Is gonna be able to walk on out of here. And what a long time underneath that tower.
Yeah, I can't believe they couldn't find the kill on the Jinx. I mean, yes, Melio came, but didn't even have to commit the ult there to actually keep the play alive. Just dodging out on the Chains of Corruption was so crucial here. And then the E doesn't land from the Varus either. So just so much damage. And you know, perfect execution is an execution, so having less, having more HP and some of that shielding from Vampire Holly really making a big difference here. I mean, just look at how much support that Melio is providing here. Does go down, Arya eventually going to get chased out. Finds barely enough damage there, but we're back in action.
Fighting in picture. Colby trying to run out after using that Cataclysm. Vampire Holly's locked up as well. This Wukong getting pretty low, but not as low as Colby. And look at Void joining the play as well. Was the Jinx in the backline of all places. Beniona is there as well with public execution, able to try and get back to the team. Gravity Field going to try and buy some peel, lands the stun onto Void, but the Jinx goes down, and Dorado are going to get the Drake.
Yeah, Arya just on the flank takes the tier 1 turret and then uses the Get Excited to actually take down Hoshiumi on the backline, but that is for the cost of your own life there. And without the Jinx, you just lose a lot of your damage threat since the Chaos Storm was not up for RSH in that one. So just very, very conflicting kind of team fight identity there. And then Umbessa tries to ult the Varus, and guess what? Renekton is in the line somehow. So ends up actually just getting out without getting a kill in return. So pretty interesting stuff here. So they're going to go for an extended chase.
If they chase this, there's a big shutdown on the Monkey. Colby wants this, can't quite find the flag and drag. Doesn't have that Cataclysm up. Although the rest of them are in pursuit. Arya, look at this guy. An absolute maniac on the Jinx. Maybe thinking of flanking, but they can't quite get those kills we need. We're in a very similar spot, Golden God, to last game. Now, the bot lane situation isn't as dire. You know, Joker is definitely behind this Jinx, who has 4 kills. However, this top lane is disastrous for Team
Oh.
Coconuts. Beniona is just out of pure fear and pure aura of Hashiyumi gonna flash away. That was aura. That had to
I
be
mean,
it. for
this
you
is like top 10 aura moments today. We've had
guys. Made
many
him
aura
flash over the
moments.
wall like that.
Yeah, I mean that was like this is like Maokai mind control that we just saw there. Um, I mean, I would have W'd him at the Mbessa, but you know Hoshiumi has better self control than I do, and still got a flash out of it anyways. So pretty well played there, and they're actually going to be able to now secure the Rift Herald in exchange for this bot lane turret here. I feel like RSH is going to get long chased here on the
John
side
is
lane.
definitely going to be happy about this 1v1. R2 is good as well.
Why?
RSH, my man, that flash is getting you nowhere. And now this fight, 4 versus 4, it's looking pretty darn good for Dorado. That engage was clean. Arya's getting flanked as well. Good luck, Miss Jinx. This is not a situation that you like to be in. Vampire Holly hanging on by a thread so low. Jim Cantor wants this kill so bad, able to close the gap with the clone. Full ace at the 17-minute mark. Dorado have firm control.
Yeah, I mean that was sloppy. I'll say it. You first of all, you don't want to flash. You know, you're definitely dead against Akali after the shroud is committed. And then on top of that, you know, just the Joker finds the perfect damage combo, hits the chains of corruptions into the damage stacking here, which you'll see over the wall. Joker with a really nice kind of positioning there over the wall just makes it impossible for him to actually get picked off here, as Jim Cantor ends up having to be the focus here as they go in on that clone. Gets, you know, cycloned up, lands the chains of corruption, and there, your HP bar is going to be gone to that lethality. And Hoshiumi on the backside finds Arya. You know, Vampire Holly does have the ult, but once again, just doesn't commit it. Doesn't have any big CC to neutralize in that one, so just going to walk it out. And this is just looking good for Dorado, but once again, last game, 5k up, similar situation. Felt like it was over. Otacon spawning soon. I'm not going to count any chickens before they hatch. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. RSH, you're in a similar situation as you were down on the bot side. This Akali is not going to let you farm in peace. That's just not what we let scaling champions do when we're playing the Assassins. R2 is going to claim the kill. John's having himself a game here in this side lane. And I think we also have to credit the top side of Dorado Gaming as well. I'm going to bite the bullet here and say, I said it had to be Joker, but guess what? Void and Jim Cantor, as they're doing right now, proving me wrong. Colby can't even get his own blue buff because that's Jim Cantor's as well. This game is so hard for Team Coconuts to play. This Jinx is fighting for resources, but everything is kind of collapsing in front of them.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a more difficult position. I will make one random shout out. We are not at feats of strength yet. 19 minutes and
Wow.
38 into the game. We have no feats of strength as no one secured 3 objectives. So definitely a more interesting prospect here. You know, this kind of workshopped a bit more. I'm curious whether this will be Ruinous or Voracious Otacon here, as there are no way. No way. No way it's still Voracious. There's just no way. I mean,
We're never going to get it.
it
it
just
is
doesn't
what it is.
exist, guys.
Yeah, it actually, I don't know. It's not. It doesn't come down to kills because I feel like every single solo queue game I ever play, it's Ruinous, and I've had less kills in this. It has to come down to damage. There's no way it isn't anything other than that. Vampire Holly, you're in a lot of trouble here. John has been the Grim Reaper this game. It was RSH. Now it's probably you. You're gonna get locked up by that Nature's Grasp, and they are now unstoppable. That's a nice pick. They're probably just gonna head right back up to this Otacon.
I actually, I mean, with how dominant they are right now, I'd actually like them to just wait on the Otacon. Just establish your lane presence, go answer towards the bot side, commit a couple members there, and just wait on this play because you have such a dominant position and vision line on this top side. You could probably leverage and wait for the Baron to spawn and actually find it then, but they still are wanting this one now. Maybe finding a pick here. They're going to just trade over the Drake. I'm just not entirely confident that this is like, you know, if we're going to min-max, this probably is not the optimal play as they're giving up one of those Drakes that could potentially be one of their win cons.
Well, you know what they could do, Golden God, is they could just full send it and absolutely go for broke at the base. So you know what? Maybe we don't know what
We'll have to
Dorado
see.
is cooking up here. We will have to see. Hey, things got crazy last time around, so who knows what we'll see this time. But it is good news for Team Coconuts, at least. If they can hold on and not make this Otacon buff that Dorado have be the end of them, then they don't have to worry about Soul for a good long time. At the very least, 15 more minutes. And by that time, Jinx is probably at 4 items, and your victors probably had 3 or 4 items as well, and you're probably not too worried about the other team being ahead. So kind of a ticking time bomb right now for Dorado as Jim Cantor feels that sense of urgency, is going to use the Cyclone, going to get the flash off of Beniona.
Yeah, Void now threatening a little bit. John is on the side here, but 4 members strong on this bot side. Maybe should be able to dissuade at least an engage, but they're going to lose the turret for it. And now Hoshiumi is in a deep magical, not magical journey. Well, that kind of magical.
It could be magical, maybe not so magical if your team dies, but hey, able to get 1, even 2 as well. There goes the breath of life to cleanse Arya away. It becomes a 2-for-1. They lose the tier 2, but they're probably losing that anyways, Golden God. Not too bad, not too shabby if you're the Coconuts, as long as you don't lose anything more.
Yeah, I mean, actually no members went down from Coconuts there, somehow slinking away. So it's really only just the turret trading over, which is technically about the same amount of gold. But still, that's still good for Coconuts here. They're able to get a couple of those big threat Otacon buffs out of their pocket. Now Arya walking up towards this bot lane. Void already there.
That's an angry crocodile. You don't want to mess with him. Ruthless Predator barrier is there, but it's not enough. And Void will send Arya directly to there, which is the Void and the Death Realm, and finds that really nice pick.
Yeah, that's a great pick there. Now I'm going to tear open the map just a little bit more. Void is low on HP. I expect a reset maybe after the next wave is cleared. And then TVing back towards this one. Joker going to try and provide all the poke possible. Walking up pretty close to Colby, maybe just baiting out some sort of engage with Jinx not on the table. Going down very low, though.
Oh, just going to drop. Just like that. Joker says, hey, I want a faster recall. Beniona, let's get over here. And nothing else is going to happen there. They couldn't quite get the tower. No engage forward could happen for Team Coconuts. And it will just be Joker losing that Otacon buff.
I mean, yeah, this is just, I think it's pretty sloppy. Dorado they didn't get the Drake. You know, they didn't establish their waves that well before the Otacon, and they didn't really find anything with the buff. And I'd say by now, you don't really have too much left. Now, Beniona now in a dangerous position. John using the Hex Gates very effectively.
Well, let's see what you can do. You're playing a pretty strong champion, but you are very far behind. John does a whole lot of damage. Double TP's coming through. The red and blue, and this will be Void. I don't think he has the Otacon buff anymore. He's going to use the Dominus to be pretty tanky. One more flag and drag will be enough, but look at the threat that Hoshiumi presents. Void is just able to take down Colby because the backline just simply cannot follow up. Now Hoshiumi goes in, might just end up dying. RSH gets that kill credit thanks to the Blackfire Torch. And that should be it. Some more kills, but not the end of the world just yet for Team Coconuts.
Yeah, somehow RSH doesn't go down there. They just don't have enough damage there. And they're going to try and force out this mid lane turret from Jim Cantor here, but it's still not going to go down. So once again, I don't think they're getting that much out of it. I mean, at least they haven't given away any of these big shutdowns on any of their topside members. So it hasn't been that instrumental in actually allowing Team Coconuts to come back. But this is exactly the same setup as last game. About 25 minutes, huge shutdowns on a couple members, and Team Coconuts finds a team fight victory. So I want to see if Dorado can maybe bait out a fight here and find a couple picks before this Baron, or they just commit to it when Coconut least expects it. And now they're going to go for Beniona again, as Colby's in the area.
I mean, it's getting pretty hard to defend you. Yeah, you got your jungler around here, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're all but safe. Is not actually losing this 1v1 against John, who does have to be careful, is going to go into the Shroud now. Dominus popped by Void. The rest of them are trying to jump on through. That's Jim Cantor, who's actually going to be stopped by the Flame Choppers. Pretty nice from Arya. But Beniona, again, continues to be caught out here. Kind of making me think that the carry stock for Beniona is kind of dropping. Might need you on something more weak side where it felt a little bit more natural on that Ornn.
Yeah, I will say, like, Mbessa started this game 2-0-0. Think back 25 minutes ago. We were talking about how this Mbessa is going to be a huge carry threat. It just hasn't occurred. Hoshiumi now looking for the engage.
Big Nature's Grasp and John. TP flanked as well. Everyone is pincered right now for the side of Team Coconuts. Colby trying to peel the backline. Arya is still alive. Actually, no one is going to go down. Of all the fights that no one would actually die to, I wouldn't have expected it would be that. That looks like the perfect flank. But Dorado, they come up short.
Yeah, a huge Chaos Storm actually dissuaded a lot of the members from walking through, especially Joker and Jim Cantor, just completely zoning them off. So now they're just going to change their attention towards this Drake, get up to that 2 Drake count. So still, once again, very slow soul count, soul stacking again, as you'd expect it in this current meta. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of going to a stalemate just a little bit. And the gold lead, though, has not really swung back towards Coconut. Still it's about 7, 8K-ish at this point. So definitely have still a bunch of room to get back here.
Arya is really strong, but the problem this time is there's no front line from Team Coconuts. So there's no one that can sit there and face tank a whole lot of damage for a good amount of time for Arya to get a reset. Beniona dies really quickly. This is a level 13 Ambessa at 27 minutes, the same level as the AD carry, a level down to the support. Somehow, this Milio is level 14. We're going to see if they can pull off any type of heroics. I'm surprised they're actually contesting this. This is only Drake number 2. The Super Mega Death Rocket will find nothing. No engage from Dorado. Means no one from the side of Team Coconuts is dropping, but they're playing so aggressive. They actually want to just engage onto John, who has the Zani's Hourglass. Now the re-engage comes through. There's the Breath of Life to remove the CC, but maybe they know something I don't, because look at that Cataclysm and Arcane Storm, but it's just not enough. Beniona will fall, but there's the shutdown onto Jim Cantor. That one goes over to Arya, who is now excited. Flashes of the previous game. Arya, still full HP in Hot Pursuit, does not have flash to close the gap. Hashiyumi is going to use a flash of their own, but they knew something we didn't, Golden Gad, because Team Coconuts pushes Dorado back.
Yeah, they see a good fight angle where it just doesn't seem like Dorado is able to dive effectively on that one. So they're able to just leverage their strong backline to actually find the damage. But it looks like they want this fight extended even more. Renekton now going for the flank, and the portal is going to help Akali get in as well.
Oh, John and Void, this is such a dangerous spot. Arya, no mana, no flash, certainly going to drop here. There's just no way to outplay this. Excellent usage of the summoner spells from Dorado. They're making sure a repeat of last game does not happen. Shuriken Flip going to miss. Beniona's going to join the play as well. Void's getting very low. That last laser going to almost knock him down, but Dominus going to give a little bit of extra HP. Now Benoina is in a very difficult position. Vampire Holly forced to flash with the Super Mega Fireball Kick, not able to knock John back, and is able to get back to the Shroud with the Shuriken Flip. That was clean from the Dorado mid laner, and that nets them +1 in this exchange.
Yeah, pretty well played there. A little bit wide on the Chains of Corruption there, so that could have been a huge play for Dorado. That could have netted them a very free Baron. Now, maybe potential for a 50-50 here. Maokai's going to make it so difficult. I always talk about how this champion just cheats out macro so well, able to just get that free vision control with the help of the saplings. So Colby's going to now be forced to walk forward. Joker had no reset, so is a little bit lower. But now they're going to look for Colby. John in the area now means that this Baron is all but secured.
This Baron could blow the game wide open for Dorado. This could be the Baron that they need to win this game, if they can find the right amount of fights, the right amount of picks. Colby, what are you doing, bro? You're really far up right now. Things are getting really dangerous. There's a Nature's Grasp headed your way. Able to tank for the squad, though. That's pretty nice. And maybe they want the fight this time. Again, Cataclysm, Arcane Storm. This is a combination you do have to watch out for. It's a combination that almost knocked down Dorado in the previous fight that happened just a couple of minutes ago, and they actually respect that fact.
Yeah, so they're going to just back off. They want to survive this Baron. 2 minutes 30. It's not that crazy long of a buff to secure, so they definitely have some time to play with here coming into this next bit of fighting. Now, we're in a bit of a lull state. I expect a lot of pushing outside lanes here for Dorado and maybe a convergence after that. Nature's Grasp is back up for Hoshiumi to be able to actually find a free pick, as Maokai does, so we'll have to see if that ends up happening. In the meantime, while it's very quiet, I will shout out Beniona's skin because you're playing the only other legendary skin in the game besides Ice Toboggan Corki that has no upgraded walking animation.
Really?
Yep.
This is some crazy lore you have, Golden Gad.
So
yeah. How do you possess this knowledge? This is insane stuff. Teaching the folks Titan Esports. Yeah, I mean, Beniona has been having a rough game, but at least pimping out with the skin. And now the real pressure begins, because this wave is crashing on the bot side, or top side rather. Bot side and top side, everywhere's crashing. And the pressure of the Baron is unfolding here onto the Team Coconut space. They're trying to do their very best. Here comes the Nature's Grasp. It is going to connect onto Vampire Holly, but no follow-up will be there. They do just get the inhibitor tower in the mid lane. Inhibitor, maybe it's soon to follow. But this defense so far is holding steady for Team Coconuts. Things very tense right now in this moment. Towers are dropping, inhibitors are falling. Just probably defending those Nexus towers is all that Team Coconuts really have in mind. but they're
We'll be
going to jump
looking
on
for it.
in. There's the public execution. Now is the time they feel that they want to fight. Can Arya free hit is the question. Joker finds the first kill of the fight. Beniota is going to go down. John is safe inside of the shroud, able to limp on away with a very little amount of HP. And Void walking on away. The rest of Dorado might just follow. They might just be satisfied with those two inhibs.
Yeah, this is looking rough. I think they might go for the bottom inhib as well. Yes, they didn't get that many chunks, but with the turret already so low and a cannon minion firing away, they could potentially actually just look for it. They have no Cyclone to actually find a big engage. The Baron buff is still having 16 seconds, so they'll have one more wave to play with here. This should be triple inhib if all things go Dorado's way, as now Void's going to flash forward.
Ruthless Predator onto RSH, who has a flash of their own. Arcane Storm now goes down, but this Arcane Storm should not expand because there are no takedowns to be had. Triple inhib down. What can Team Coconuts do? Colby's jumping on in, but isn't able to find a whole lot. Hoshiumi's going to fall here soon. One reset is in for Arya. This is looking like a pentakill Jinx angle. If they're not careful, Super Mega Death Rock is going to find another. Into the clone goes Jim Cantor to try and run on away. Arya is running for their life. Public execution is not quite enough to close the gap, and the rest of Dorado will escape, but a very scary situation for them that they were able to avoid.
They're going to lose the Hextech Drake for this, but they still have 3 inhibs to kind of bat out with. Joker almost getting picked out here. Beniona might just go for the long chase, and this AD carry's dead. That's pretty disastrous here. Jim Cantor
needs to not try and help him out. I mean, maybe he kills Arya, but this is dangerous. Joker has overextended way too far forward, now caught in the Cataclysm. Maybe was able to take down Colby, but not going to be able to do so. And RSH is doing God's work right now inside of the base, clearing away those super minions. Here comes Jim Cantor and John, though. This is 3-4 versus 2. Can he get inside the pit and steal this one away? Again, this isn't Soul, so I'm not really sure why they're doing this. Jinx is now going to get excited. Cyclone is used, and Arya is free hitting. One more auto attack will do the trick. Not quite in range, but able to find it. Now he's going to try and get onto John, who goes into the shroud to keep himself safe. The knockup will connect here from Colby. Hoshiumi is in the area, and Void, who must have TP flanked, is going to take that Hex Gate. And all the meanwhile, Golden Gad, RSH, is clearing away the minions.
Yeah, I mean, if there's going to be any champion to actually be able to stall out all these minions, Victor is definitely one of them. So, able to find a lot of just free gold here for the side of Team Coconuts. But it's going to be so unlikely for them to win. I mean, when you're down triple inhib, it's so hard to win here. But you could just account this to Dorado getting a little overambitious. They're overplaying their hand. John gets chunked out pretty hard to start this fight, and Hoshiumi is going to be the kickoff here. Maokai always going to be the one that gets focused down early, and with that reset, the damage can reign true. Unfortunately, Melio's not there to speed up the Jinx at all here, which could have just been a free pentakill, as you called out, but not able to find it here. So a good attempt here from Team Coconuts to actually get them back in the game. The gold's actually getting closer. It's only at 5k now, so they're closing the gap. And with Jinx, Victor, this is the kind of late game scaling you'd expect. So are we going to see another throw? That's really the question here for Dorado.
Well, Arya is full build. 19,000 gold on this Jinx. So as far as damage goes, you really don't need much else if you're Coconuts. The only thing you need to win is make sure Arya can hit your opponents and is safe from any dive. The only thing that gold really helps them out with is get Beniona as tanky as possible, get Colby as tanky as possible, so they can just frontline meat shield for this Jinx. Look at that build. Yuntal, Runons, LDR, BT, IE. She hits like an absolute truck. Almost level 18 as well. Starting up onto this Baron is Dorado. Not a whole lot of people around. It's a little bit too dangerous to contest. They are going to try their luck here, Golden Gad, with giving this one over.
Yeah, I think they're just going to have to give it over. And triple inhib down. Baron secured. That's a very terrifying prospect. 6 super minions, Baron buffed up. If you're able to sync these waves, could really be the end of you. But it looks like they're having a bit of desync here. Just the nature of how it is. They're going to escort this mid lane in. And Void's going to get forced off this top wave. So they're not going to be able to sync it up. Bot lane will be crashing eventually here. But the top mid lane and top lane inhibitor is respawning as we speak. But now they finally engage onto just the clone. Nothing too crazy.
It's so tense. And with this inhibitor respawning, question is Team Coconuts going to give it? I would hope that they wouldn't. I feel like they should fight for this because you're never really going to be able to get into a position to win if all your inhibs are down. So Now is the moment to jump on in and do something here. Colby's thinking about it. Public Execution is not going to connect. Beniona wanted that. They're jumping in onto John, who's going to get away with the shuriken flip, and the mid lane inhibitor will fall. Top lane inhibitor is respawning. There's the Nature's Grass. Colby's in a whole lot of trouble. Gravity Field goes down to peel the J4, and they will be able to escape towards their Nexus towers. But there are a lot of minions converging, and now the top lane inhibitor is also going to fall. They are so strong at this point in the game, but there is just simply too much pressure convoluting onto them with this Baron empowered play. Arya trying to find space to hit, is able to get onto Void. Pay attention to this Jinx. Void down to half HP. One Nexus tower holding on. It's getting to super low. The rest of the minions are crashing through. So difficult to keep these minions at bay, but finally they'll get a little bit of breathing room here.
Yeah, Arya doing a great job of spacing here. Trying to look for the kill on Void there. Actually probably would have found the damage. Now Beniona Reese, just full HP, trying to look for anything. Public Execution still not up, so can't commit for a huge engage here. But they at least keep one inhibitor alive for this next session of plays. Drake is up. They could potentially get the soul if Dorado makes a big enough mistake going down. So we'll have to see if they're able to find anything. But right now, it looks so difficult for Dorado to play these fights out because Cyclone, you have to commit so hard to actually find Arya on the backside. And then John is getting poked out pretty effectively here from RSH and Arya's poke. And yeah, it's just making it a lot more difficult to play it out. And of course, you don't really want to be giving Beniona just free time to hit. Yes, it's a very weak Mbessa, but that's still Mbessa nonetheless. So unless you could find Beniona again here on the side lane, it's going to be pretty difficult to actually break through this. Not even a front line, just like the damage line for Team Coconuts.
You can't spend too much time in front of the Jinx, otherwise she's just gonna, eat your face off, so to speak. Colby misses the flag and drag. No, Colby, not like this. Getting so close to falling, able to get the flag and drag though, but that will be a Chains of Corruption that connect onto Vampire Holly, who has to use the last breath to keep themselves safe. But this is 2 kills now that's going to go over to Dorado. You have to think Beniona is a goner into the Zanyas. Goes John to keep themselves safe. Shuriken flip out of the gravity field. Now Void is trying to do the last bit of damage. I think the Super Mega Death Rocket is able to find the kill onto John. It is Arya, RSH, and Vampire Holly. This is the defense of a lifetime. If you're able to pull this off, now your Nexus is exposed. They can just rush it if they want to. Ruthless Predator is going to connect onto Arya, who is able to flash away in time, able to keep themselves safe, is able to get one reset. Can they do enough damage? They are firing away. RSH is able to trade one in the meantime, which is just enough for them to hold on. Are you kidding me? Team Coconuts just refuse to lose.
Yeah, and I will say the bot, or not bot, like the lower Nexus turret is going to respawn soon. This is a 3-minute respawn timer, so it should be back in time by the next time they want to make a defense here. As Arya is just confidently no support, walking forward into Jim Cantor and Hoshiumi, knowing no damage could follow through. But I'll be a bit careful. 11 seconds on John's respawn with that TP up could really spell your demise. But they want to find some positioning on this Drake to maybe contest it. But there are still 3 waves of double super minions for the enemy team here, so it's just going to be a bit scary. Arya wants to auto over the wall, doesn't want to burn that much mana, has to walk forward, and they're trying to burst it down, but
they're going to get it.
I
think they're going to get it in time. Jim Cantor is not in the area, but the question is, can they get out? Colby is locked up. Colby might have actually wanted to fight, but the real answer is you got to get out of dodge. They're TPing though. They have exposed Nexus towers. Here comes RSH with the gravity field. They're just going to try and force this down. John is inside of the shroud. Void uses the Dominus as well for a little bit of extra HP. I think they have enough to win this game, and they do. Are you kidding me? After all that effort to try and save this game, it's Dorado with the double TP backdoor to bring us to a game 3.
Oh, that is just so unfortunate there. As soon as the turret goes down to the super minions, there's nothing there to actually defend the base. And Dorado picks up on that very well, and they just instantly snap TP into that back line there, and they just find the Nexus for free. So you just traded Soul for Nexus, unfortunately, here for Team Coconut. But honestly, I don't blame them. They were in a tough position, and they made the most of it in this one.
It was a poor tracking of TP timers. Basically, they knew they had a window to get the soul, but they just didn't visualize what could happen with all of those super minions converging, and it was just Beniona in the base. It wasn't soul potential yet for Dorado. They could have just given that away, waited for inhibitors to respawn again, like you were talking about a couple minutes earlier, Golden God, and then try and mount that base defense, then maybe contest a soul 5 minutes later. It could have been played a whole lot slower. It sucks that they went all this way to kind of make that critical macro mistake and drop it right there. But we've got a series on our hands. Arya has performed like an absolute monster. Again, off-rolled in this 80 carry role, but still a very high-level player doing the absolute most here to keep Team Coconuts in it. We'll see what the adaptations are in game number 3, as this is full fearless. 20 champions are knocked off the board, and only one game determines the actual conclusion of the series this time. Last time I said it would be the conclusion, I was wrong because Team Coconuts lost. This time, after the break, we will conclude the series and see who will pick up their second win in Titan Immortal League in week number 3. Don't go anywhere. We are back with the Titan Immortal League. It's Dorado Gaming Zeta taking on Team Coconuts. And we've had a pretty wild ride in this series. We thought Zeta was going to win game number 1. All of a sudden, Coconuts come back miraculously to take the first one. We almost got the repeat of that in game 2, but Dorado, they clutch up. They get the win. They double TP, backdoor the Nexus. Now we are here at game number 3, full fearless, ready to jump into the draft. Golden Gad, we got a side swap. What are we seeing here in this next one?
You know, it may be a side swap, but I still guarantee the same champions are getting banned all across the board. I mean, they did let the Mbessa through last time, but I expect Dorado to not change anything about their bans. The triple jungle ban, it's looked good. You know, you can say whatever you want about game 1, but it still looked good in the early game, and that's kind of what jungle bans are really trying to target, kind of an identity shift here. But now we're seeing Ivern again. I expect Hui yet again. You don't want to give that as that first pick on B1, maybe one of the stronger B1s here, but they're going to actually leave it open, maybe for Dorado to maybe get scared into banning it. The Skarn are going to be added to that ban table, so pretty interesting stuff there, considering he hasn't really seen any presence at all in these first 2 games. And Rek'Sai is also going to get locked in as that last ban. So exactly the same bans all across the board here. And Kindred. So a bit of flexibility here. They just banned out 6 junglers from the pool. What other junglers you got? There's stuff like Viego, which could potentially get play here, if I had to guess. But Hui, as it's left open, will get grabbed up immediately here.
Yeah, and Hui has actually had the Hui nerfs come through yet? No, this is, I don't think the Hui nerfs have come through just yet. I think that was teased by Riot, but still a very strong champion. Xerath in response has to be going into the mid lane. They have to be thinking, we need to outrange this Hui. I don't think there's a single champion in the game that outranges Xerath. So that's very interesting. The Sejuani lock-in as well kind of alludes to the fact that they're going to have to go with a melee top laner for Beniona. But is that top laner going to be a big carry? Because that Ambessa game wasn't necessarily the greatest from this player. So it's interesting to see kind of the route that they are actually going to go. Double AP in the mid jungle. They lock in the Lilia. What is the pick going to be for their last one? They're going to get the Leona down as well. We'll see what the response will be for Vampire Holly if it's picked on this R3.
Anything with an auto reset is what I'd imagine. I could see maybe something like a Jax could do okay, but it's going to just be the Janna lock-in to neutralize out the Leona. They don't want any of those support picks getting banned out early on, and Janna does pretty well in lane against Hui, and actually does really good into Leona engages as well, so could definitely be a pretty interesting angle there for actual playing out this game. We're going to see a Gnar ban immediately, so just waiting a couple more of those strong top lane bruisers that could really force out some meta decisions here. Kog'Maw going to get banned out here. One of those strong carries. You don't want to see Arya on one of those. So seeing that banned out, I expect another strong hyper carry, AD carry to get banned out here as well. I mean, I think it's honestly an okay game for something that has no mobility. I'd be a little bit scared if you didn't have something like a Xerath and a Sejuani to actually be able to protect it with the Janna as well. And, you know, you talked about it earlier, Hui Xerath is a terrible matchup for Hui. I swear by it, terrible matchup. So I'd actually like to see them flex the Hui down to bot lane and just play it out like that, and then pick up a different mid laner here to actually force it into the Xerath.
That's actually one of the benefits of playing Hui is he is that flex pick. Not going to be the case though. They're going to take the Ashe to the bot side, which is kind of interesting because, you know, they're really doubling down on the CC into the Sivir. And the Sivir pick from Arya is fantastic because not only can you also take the cleanse just to be safe, but you have that extra spell shield, virtually no long-range crowd control can hit you. And Arya, who's been this backline menace, doesn't necessarily have to worry about all this dive. Wow, we are going to see a Dr. Mundo. That is the melee champion they're going to pair with Sejuani.
Auto reset.
Exactly, and that is a better champion here for Beniona. Played really well in the Ornn, not so much success on the Ambessa, so the Dr. Mundo definitely more suited to this player, and a pretty good matchup into Void. And it's tank versus tank, so that kind of neutralizes. I think this is a really solid answer here for Team Coconuts, especially with the Sivir pick for Arya, just because of how much of a threat they have been in this series, and they shouldn't have a whole lot of threats onto them with that spell shield that they have.
Yeah, the Spell Shield should neutralize a lot of the big single target abilities that you'd expect coming out of this team. Either the Solar Flare or the Enchanted Crystal Arrow from that bot lane is going to at least go down and get blocked for those ones. So a lot of the threat is kind of evaded, and you have the Xerath Hwei advantage matchup in the mid lane as well. So I think they've put themselves in a pretty great position going forward. I I will say also that the Lilia could really take over this game if Lilia gets ahead. These are not great champions into that particular pick.
Oh,
But
John,
John, walking into it,
they don't have any type of CC just yet. The Permafrost not quite connecting. Maybe if it was Beniona inside of that brush, but not going to be the case. John is going to channel that recall, and getting so aggressive is Team Coconuts. Now on this blue side, or on this red side rather, kind of setting up shop inside of the jungle. We'll see what they can get.
yeah, it seems like Dorado has some sort of inclination that this is happening as they're paying out very aggressively on that side, especially because somehow Joker and Hoshiumi have snuck their way into this kind of reserved bush on the backside here, and the bot lane's going to walk right into this. I don't think they're going to expect it at all, and you're much rather take an Ashe Leona here. Vampire
No,
Holly.
Vampire Holly. He's going to say, what the hell are they doing inside of this brush? Ignite goes down. Heal is used, but that's mitigated from the Grievous Wounds. Flash Road from Hoshiumi. Give the kill over to Joker. Really creative play. Excellent read of the map. And that's first blood to Dorado.
Yeah, a little bit of a misplay, though. I think Joker could have just gotten away with just walking forward to get that kill without having to burn the Leona flash. But still, getting that pick early on is so good, especially when it's a double-ranged matchup with the Sivir Janna, who does such a good job of clearing out these waves, making it very hard for Leona to be in a good position to actually find and engage. So I'd say that's a great look there and really good vision play there to actually make it in. So already finding a bit of an advantage. And I talked about how this Lilia needs to get online. I mean, not necessarily needs to, but definitely could be the big stopping factor here for Dorado to actually be able to contest with this comp. So definitely going to want to see Lilia really pop off. Does great into Mundo and Sejuani. Can't really lock her down as well as some of the other junglers in the pool. And Xerath has to hit a skill shot on 450 to 500 movement character. So definitely not the easiest thing to see out of them.
We're seeing a split map, and I wonder what the actual implications of this split map is going to mean. What it does mean, at the very least, is that Joker and Hoshiumi, for the moment, especially because Colby just showed topside, don't have to worry about any type of ganks coming their way. So they can pressure as much as they want. Although, kind of just pushing in the Sivir again, she's not really going to care too much about that. And in the grand scheme of things, this kill that they were able to get, is it really going to be an enabler? I'm trying to find the right word. An enabler for them to actually run away with this lane? Probably not. So at the current moment, things are actually okay. But I like to go back to that point you made about the Lilia. The Lilia power farming is going to be a big power for the side of Dorado. If she can free farm, she can outpace that Sejuani. That's going to mean big things for them. Making their way around is Hoshiumi. Where do you think they're going? What kind of part of the map are they trying to achieve here? Trying to get into some type of pocket of vision, and they are going to find Colby.
Yeah, they're going to find it. I don't think Hoshiumi wanted to spot out this early, but just going to walk it out. Wants to prevent any potential action on this top side. I mean, it is a free recall here. Ashe did have to go for that back. Did end up getting the boots and the longsword. So not the most combat power in the world, but definitely some great maneuverability to actually be able to find damage. Now RSH in a bit of threat, but going to be spotted out on that control ward. Purchased extremely early here just to prevent any action since it was that split map. So good awareness there on that one. Now Lilia going to go for a back, and we're going to be back to normal jungle experience here in just a second.
Been a slow game so far, except for that one play that did end up happening, and that extra kill onto Joker, who did also, by the way, opt into the Ghost for the Summoner spell. So will be a little bit harder to take down, and also a lot harder to escape from, especially if she's running you down with that Frost shot. Lily on the top side and the Sejuani on the bot side of the map. We are going to get neutral objectives up and going. Hoshiumi has already expressed interest in moving around the map, and I think that is definitely going to be what you want to do in this one. We are going to see Colby hovering around here. They're trying to look for a play. Vampire Holly is trying her very best to bait Hoshiumi to go in, and Hoshiumi's not taking the bait. But if you move around on this Leona, then you can maybe make plays happen elsewhere where it's really difficult to knock down this Sivir.
I will say, like, Hoshiumi placed a great ward on that blue buff that gave them the awareness to know that Colby is in the area. So very well played there. They're just playing the vision pretty well, which is what you'd expect from a team that's already played together for 3 weeks. They kind of know what their roles are going to be and what they're looking for in this game. So definitely you're seeing some of that cohesion come through. I will say, like we talked about this first kill coming through, it really is just to make sure that nothing crazy will happen in the matchup. It's just a free 300 gold. You take your win, you get out. And yeah, it really hasn't changed at all. It's still about 300 gold advantage here for Dorado. So it really is just kind of that extra cherry on top here for the bot lane without anything else that much. I will say Lilia takes this grub extremely quickly. I mean, that's kind of what Lilia does, AoE damage, so having 3 targets to hit is definitely good. Also gets a lot of HP back from the passive as well as it ticks on forward. So Colby in the area, looking potentially to take down John here.
They're looking for the gank. John in some trouble. Still has the flash. The stun will connect, though, and dropping very, very low into the right of the arcane goes RSH, not quite able to land those 4 skill shots. John has to get out of dodge. All the meanwhile, Jim Cantor was taking these grubs. Might not be able to get the last one. Actually saves the smite. The briefcase is going to connect. This means Jim Cantor having to burn the flash because they are slowed. Colby and Hot Pursuit, RSH on the way as well. They take control of the jungle. They get the flash off the mid laner, but they get the grubs in response, does Dorado.
Yeah, and the blue buff is respawning here soon. I actually think Jim Cantor did not need a flash there. Has the W to neutralize a second cleaver, potentially. Oh, the bowling ball didn't actually spot out Colby.
Oh, that's a lady on a board. She's inside your jungle. She's taking your blue buff. Jim Cantor, are you going to take that? Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Colby, maybe you picked the wrong fight. That's an angry Scion. We got to kill. Bot side, Arya was able to find Hoshiumi. It's 1-1 now. And Dorado able to push away that Sejuani out of their jungle.
Yeah, they also get the flash out of the Sejuani right before level 6, so a lot of the longer ranged engaged threat could be neutralized here. I will say, yeah, we have the Ashe with the Ghost, so not going to have Cleanse to actually get away from that Glacial Prison as we get a replay what happened on the bot side here. Looks like Hoshiumi just committing to a bot lane fight and just getting kited out here with the Janna on top, so you know, you really can't run out as soon as you engage in, and they did enough damage to Joker to dissuade any fighting afterwards. And with that, they're going to find themselves a trade kill and find themselves a bit of a lead here for Team Coconut.
I'm getting a little worried here, Golden God. Look at that CS discrepancy in the bot lane. Arya has proven to be the strongest player in this game. I mean, they are the highest ranked player. And again, I mean, I've already said this a lot of times. They're off-rolled, but they look comfortable on this ADC role. And maybe they honestly aren't off-rolled. I like that they're OP.GG, and they had a whole lot of top and mid games. So I was like, okay, they're autofilled. Maybe this is kind of evening out. Arya has been smurfing this whole series, and having this kind of lead on a hyper carry like Sivir, this bodes well. Look topside as well. Beniona is having their way in this topside matchup. 20 CS ahead of the Scion. They have made their counter picks matter.
Yeah, really what you'd expect here. Mundo, with the percent max HP damage on cleavers, can really shred through a lot of what Scion would expect to be no threat here. Now getting
Void
blocked.
has flash. Okay, I'm going to use it. That briefcase, fadeaway briefcase, didn't connect. Again, Beniona doesn't have a flash of their own. They took the ghost. And here's RSH going to try and knock down Void, doing their very best Baus FFS impression. Although John is here to help him out. Look at the pressure that the Scion's creating. The Spiraling Despair goes wide because RSH flashes away. But Void, after all that, able to walk on out.
Yeah, critically with Scion and Mundo especially, as you hit more cleavers, the less damage it does, since it does percent current HP. But Janna's gonna get hit by
There we go. Big Enchanted Crystal Arrow. No cleanse on Vampire Holly.
Mid lane.
And no spell shield. So that will be a nice kill. Beniona somehow made a trip to mid lane and said, how dare you help out that Scion and let them escape. We're getting trade kills across the map. It's 2-2. Both teams making the plays.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff there. You saw Glacial Prison get committed towards the Hui. Doesn't have the flash from that earlier play. And they're able to actually secure that kill and get the gold back right up to where it was. 300, 400-ish for Coconut in advantage. But, you know, they're trying to start up the Drake here. But Lilia is probably just going to back here and go for the grubs immediately again. Just to try and cycle those grubs. Get the 6 grubs on the board. It's been so influential throughout this series. Whoever has the grubs And here we get a replay here of exactly what happened. Colby, classic Q into Glacial Prison. Really undodgeable if you don't have flash. And yeah, they just secure the damage over time, and Benio is able to secure it. So not in the pocket of the Xerath, but still definitely important to get the Mundo at that Heartsteel immediately. I will say this is a triple Giant's Belt, so not kind of disregarding the Heartsteel stacking immediately and going for, I guess, components for a Warmogs and a Heartsteel. So pretty interesting build choice there.
Just stacking on that health. Both top laners doing that. Stacking on that HP, making sure they're as beefy as possible. And here they are on the grubs, like you said, Golden Gab, but here comes Beniona. We're going to try and make sure that this actually does not happen. John forced to throw out a couple spells and make sure they're not in any type of danger. Void could be in some trouble, but no engage. Again, no Glacial Prison on Colby. They don't really care about Void. They just want these juicy Void grubs. They'll be able to pick up one. Here comes an Enchanted Crystal Arrow. That's going to go wide. And Jim Cantor saying, this last grub is mine, forcing Colby out of the pit. But I think Team Coconuts is going to be okay with at least making sure that 6 don't go over. We're still seeing a fight, though, break out as Hashiyumi is going to get locked up by that Glacial Prison. It is pretty tanky on the Leona, but here comes the Red of the Arcane now. Going to get onto that Xerath, but it will be the kill going over to RSH. 3-2 now for Team Coconuts, and that grub didn't go down. Able to get something nice off the back end of this fight.
Yeah, and TP is going to be committed towards the bot side, so Joker's not going to be able to get as many plates as they would have liked here. Now, Jim Cantor maybe just going for a long chase on a Vampire Holly, but Arya's in the area.
Vampire Holly gets hit by that ability and the Severing Bolt. Now Colby's in some trouble as well. Can't quite escape. 2 kills go over to John. Arya's in the mix as well, able to trade one back, but the Spiraling Despair is ticking. The Flash is utilized, trying to buy the time, but there's another Severing Bolt. Give it to John on this way. There's a reason this pick was getting banned away so often, and that's because John is an absolute beast on this pick.
Yeah, definitely using the rotations well there. And yeah, once again, pretty good look here from both these teams. I don't think it's that crazy for either of them. They aren't coming out to a big lead, so it's a little bit of a different look compared to the last two where someone really comes out to an early lead and it kind of stalls out after that. So we're seeing it much closer, pretty much exactly even in the gold here, as Sejuani's going to grab up the Heartsteel, so you'd expect more team fighting to be able to secure those stacks. And yeah, it looks like Mundo well on his way to get those, but instead actually commits for the Swifty boots, so doesn't want to have to deal with any of the shenanigans from the Hui or the Scion in that moment.
We got an Enchanted Crystal Arrow or something. It was the ultimate from Joker. And RSH, this is why people who play the artillery mages don't like to go bot lane, because that happens. You get picked off, you're kind of immobile, you got nowhere to go. Sivir wants that mid lane, though. This is kind of a troubling problem for Coconuts that we can identify right off the bat. Is Arya wants to go to the mid lane. Xerath also kind of wants to stay in the mid lane because Xerath doesn't want that to happen over and over again. They got a little bit of a conflict of interest. It'll be interesting to see how Coconuts kind of handles that little macro problem in their composition.
I mean, Hui has the same exact issue. Likes to go mid lane, but Ashe can do whatever. There's a reason Ashe is very prevalent. So, you know, we're seeing that kind of play out here. We're just seeing some normal deep vision here from Hoshiumi and Vampire Holly, just looking for anything here as they shove out the bot lane. It's currently at 4 plates, so hasn't really progressed too much here, which leaves the goal pretty even. Hoshiumi's going to spot out Colby on this blue buff. They're just going to secure it up here, and now they're kind of trying to convert on this bot side, and Colby has no idea.
Well, Arya did use the On the Hunt, get a bit more movement speed. There was Lilting Lullaby available, didn't want to use that. I think the Spell Shield was still available, so it would have been a futile effort. So good on Jim Cantor to save that. And Arya walks away scot-free. We got, again, another little bit of a lull state here. A lot slower of a game, I would say, than the other games that we have had. But this is game 3, right? If you lose this game, you do lose the series. You don't really get that extra chance. But Dorado's backs have been against the wall for the past 2 games, so maybe they feel a little bit more comfortable in this sort of scenario. Because we're going to see another Enchanted Crystal Arrow connect onto RSH. Is this enough to kill, though? This is a way that does a whole lot of damage. RSH going to flash the wall. No, it's going to get the big chunk. A really good aim from Joker.
Yeah, I mean, if the sun came out later, but Joker almost
Joker
getting taken
himself is in
down.
some trouble here. Hoshiumi
TP.
is going to go straight on in. Flash. Here comes the Lilting Lullaby. That's going to connect onto 2. And Arya is not long for this world. The TP is a little bit late. And the next person, that's Colby, is going to drop. Beniona is going to try and find Joker. There's the right of the Arcane. There's that Xerath from downtown, able to get involved in this play. But a triple kill is going to be all the better for Dorado. We said Jim Cantor had to get online this game, and that's exactly what they have.
Yeah, now with Lily online, it just becomes that much harder to be able to eke out some of these fights because Lilia just so good at these longer fights, and you'd expect that kind of fight with Sejuani, Mundo, Sivir. These are all champions that will kind of have a very long damage rotation, so could be very dangerous here for Team Coconuts as moving forward. And with Dorado claiming up 2 turrets as well, they've really put themselves in a great position to just continue the snowball, get the deep vision, find the advantage as they move. And I gotta say, John playing extremely well in this one. Did get picked out that one time in mid, but so far has been at all the right places at the right times. And able to snowball that into quite a bit of an advantage. But Colby wants to change that, wants to find another pick on mid lane here.
Yeah, they're looking for it. A whole lot of people converging around that mid lane. It looks like John escaped. Actually didn't have to use the flash either. Jim Cantor was there just in case. But on the topic of this player, this mid laner for Dorado, has played quite the diverse trio of champions in this series. The Galio, then the Akali, then the Hui. So a mage, an assassin, and more of a juggernaut sort of style champion. The Galio game maybe didn't go as well, but did absolutely perform on the Akali in game 2. John has put on, thus far, a clinic in this series, just like you mentioned, Golden Gad. Coconuts, though, off that pressure, able to pick up that Rift Herald. And we'll see what they can do with this pick. Joker's going to try and get something back on the other side, but definitely keeping that out of the hands of Dorado, something that Coconuts can at least be happy about for the moment.
Yeah, Joker just being a complete nuisance, just trying to kind of isolate out this lane. No one really that great at matching Ashe at this point. Xerath doesn't want to really be here. Mundo would much rather be into the Scion, so lane assignments become tough, but John has to flash away.
Looking for that Glacial Prison, and John has to use the flash to get out. The bowling ball, the swirling seed, rather. Swirling seed, bowling ball. Kind of like a nature's bowling ball, if you will. Does connect. No Lilting Lullaby is going to come through. Again, it's hard to actually catch Arya here. And how much of a problem is this going to be later on? We talked about it a little earlier. Thus far, hasn't been too bad. And Dorado has been able to find a whole lot of plays. Later on, might become more of a problem. Hoshiumi could be in some trouble here. There's an Enchanted Crystal that's going to go on to Colby. Was that a Chaos that just came through to cleanse the Sejuani? But it doesn't really matter. Lilting Lullaby is going to connect onto 2. It is very low for Vampire Holly. She goes into the Monsoon. That's not going to matter, though, because the Severing Bolt will just land straight onto her face. Here comes the Right of the Arcane. So much damage is being dealt from this. Xerath able to knock down 1. Can they find another? Hoshiumi with the fancy feet, able to dodge away from those spells. Severing Bolt does not bring down Colby and Arya. Blinking health bars on both sides. We got a scrap here around the blue buff.
Yeah, pretty close fight, but you see both artillery mages doing what artillery mages do. Nice long-range damage with Lilia, once again, just being pretty uncontested. You can't really do that enough damage to actually shred through her as she heals up off of all of your more tanky members. Beniona, it feels so good to get those petals, by the way. I know it's like team-wide, but it's satisfying.
It's satisfying. Yeah, dude, you and I are on that same wavelength, man. You see them around. Sometimes I even compete with my own team to grab them, even though I know it's team shared.
Yeah, shout out to Heroes of the... No, just kidding. I actually don't play that game, but that is a Heroes of the Storm mechanic for sure. I don't know who they got on the design team for that one.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think I played maybe one game of Heroes of the Storm, and I didn't
Yeah,
like
where
it a whole
every
lot.
XP and it's all shared, so you gotta allocate appropriately. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But that's
There's a
that's a
reason
complete tangent.
Yeah, there's a reason I'm sitting here in front of a microphone talking about this game that I've loved for so long. Team Coconuts and Dorado have put on quite the good series, so this has been quite enjoyable to watch. And League of Legends, yeah, you kind of share those flowers. You don't have to compete with anybody. Sharing is caring in this game, says Riot Games, except when they
Take
get rid
away
of those
Hextech chests.
Hextech chests. Yeah.
Yep, feel you
Yeah,
there.
funny how we've gotten to this topic here in this kind of lull state.
I mean,
in this
I've
one.
made multiple tweets about it, so, I think it's on brand at this point. I think it's dumb, but, it is what it is, right? Likes money and thinks that it's a better strategy to not support the players. That'll get them more money because the whales will buy in, right?
They might. And we got some pretty cool skins in this game, so these players have been
True. Can't
supporting
get
Riot
Hex
Games a little bit.
Sejuani anymore because you can't get that much Mythic Essence, which is cool. Okay, but
Oh,
we have
they're gonna
action in the
skip
top
away.
lane.
And we got action. They've said enough of the talk, enough of the tangent casters. Beniona says, I might get caught out here, but I might not because the maximum dosage is going to keep me alive for the moment. But there is the Lilting Lullaby. Jim Cantor makes another play 4-0 for this Lilia. Otacon now on the map. Voracious, of course, like it is every single time. But maybe not enough people around for the side of Dorado to kind of make that happen.
Looks like they're kind of starting it though. Sion just doing the damage. They maybe be able to just sneak it out, but Vampire Holly and Colby aware, looking towards that one here as now Hoshiumi, Joker getting pressured out. Joker has to flash away.
Trying to find the Leona. Stun does connect. Getting a whole lot of poke damage. Hoshiumi says, hey, you want to try and take me down? I'm going straight back at you like any Leona would. The Monsoon is actually going to bring Jim Cantor to safety. Here comes the teleport. And this will be what looks like Void getting into the mix of everything. That's a pretty tanky Scion. Able to find a little bit of damage here with the Silvering Bolt is John. But no one else will drop. It's just that trade, or that kill onto Leona. And teleporting in is Beniona. Did they find a whole lot of stuff? I don't think so, but here comes the Rift Herald.
Yeah, they're going to use the Rift Herald pressure to actually maybe force out this Drake. Joker and Void trying to make it so the charge doesn't occur. They're actually going to get the charge anyways. Now they're going to change their attention towards the Drake. Start hitting that one here as Jim Cantor wants to find something. Gets stunned up though. Beniona
Find a
trying
way
to find the
into
damage.
Beniona is going to just completely mitigate that CC. There goes the Infernal Drake down to side of Team Coconut. Says, going in with the unstoppable onslaught was Void. Missed the target, but hey, wrecking the fight is Dorado. Severing Bull connects. There's a Swirl Seed to boot as well. Colby, the Blast Cone, going to try and bring him to safety. That's a pretty fast deer after you, but not quite fast enough. As, my goodness, Jim Cantor has had quite the game on the deer. And Dorado yet find themselves another team fight win.
Yeah, great performance so far, but yeah, this is what I expected. Lilia just doing Lilia things. Very uncontested in this one. I will shout out a little bit there that RSH committing to the right of the arcade with like 5 members in front of you. Maybe not the best idea. Has to burn flash, still ends up going down with the Lilting Lullaby, unfortunately. And now, with the pressure that they've acquired, Dorado is going to start up this Otacon. Colby, though, in the area, and this is the kind of flip that can lose you the game.
It could, and smartly Dorado is backing off for that exact reason. Hey, Golden God, they might be listening to you, or you guys are on the same wavelength. They kind of know how to not maybe get themselves into some dangerous situations after what's happened earlier in this series. And Team Coconut's not going to have that opportunity later on. You talked about the fact that RSH was sitting there on the right of the arcane in front of 5 people. That's some pretty Giga Chad stuff. Having a Medjai's as well.
Or Aura.
While doing that, that's just maximum aura right there. They just don't care, right? 0 stacks to Medjai's. This is the 0 to 100 moment for RSH. Got to build that back because I'm gonna be honest. If you don't, then your wallets are really hurting after investing that much gold into there.
Yeah, we usually have the we randomly have a Pro Comps draft score here. Coco, nuts, going nuts, 51% there. Just able to squeak away with that one, but it's not looking that way in this one. Colby now finding Hoshiumi on this top side. I was just about to shout out, Titan Esports, they do their top 5 best plays. We need top 5 aura moments for the Immortal League here, as we've seen quite a few in this series already.
I was going to say the top 5 would just be this series, right? Like, we don't need anything else. There's been a whole lot of interesting ones here.
Yeah, we got Beniona flashing in place. We got Maokai scaring away the Mbessa.
Which was also
aura,
Beniona.
Which was also Beniona. Maybe it's just Beniona has both no aura and max aura at the same time. It's kind of weird. I don't know.
There's a whole lot of interesting things happening in this series. This has been one for the books for sure. But hey, we're only 3 weeks in. We got a whole lot more of this to go. And yeah, what we thought was going to be an Otacon play ended up not being the case. But nonetheless, in firm control of this game. Once again, this is a reoccurring theme in this series. Dorado, they constantly have had the better early to mid games. And Coco has kind of relied on, Arya to, well, maybe not entirely bail them out because there has been some solid performances from other players, especially Colby in that game 1 on the Vi. But that's a conversation for another time, as Beniona, once again, this is also a reoccurring theme. Caught out in the side lane, has to pop the maximum dosage, is pretty difficult to knock down. That healing is pretty incredible. The little team Lullaby will give a little more damage, and Mundo is still running on away. The Decimating Smash will miss. They gotta maybe bring him down. There you go. Jim Cantor is going to secure that one. But on the other side of the map, they're starting up the Otacon, and Jim Cantor is way far away, but this Otacon is very healthy. RSH is going to fall. This was the attempted cross map from Team Coconuts, and it is really backfiring in their face. Void is now here. Void is just going to keep going. Jim Cantor is here from the bot side, making the whole trip from coast to coast. And this looks like Dorado is kind of going to put the nail in the coffin at this point in the game. Swirl Seed going to go wide. Vampire, Holly, and Colby are going to escape. And back to the Otacon, kind of licking their wounds, but still with a team fight win is Dorado Zeta.
It feels like they make the correct call here for Coconuts, but it just doesn't work out. They don't have the damage to secure the kills onto the crucial members like the Hui or Joker, so they actually just get forced out, and eventually Jim Cantor himself shows up in the top lane, secures a couple more kills, and it's going to get them that Otacon. And with Baron up, much better position for you to actually secure Otacon here, as you're able to just easily, no decision making, no tough brain decisions, you just gotta ram your face against the Baron with the Otacon, and it should be yours.
Well, let's not get too ambitious here, Golden God. Again, Otacon can be thrown around here, and if you get a little too ambitious, then bad things could happen. But if you are hitting the Baron and you're waiting for the enemy team to come to you, your plan is to fight, then you know what? You're right. This probably does end up being a world where Dorado walks out happy. There's also an Infernal Drake on the map, and if Team Coconuts were to grab that, that would be sole point. Right now, they're trying to sneak a Baron. They already tried to sneak Otacon. That didn't work, and something's telling me Dorado knows what's up right now, and the jig is up. You guys can't sneak anything with these guys around. They want to win this series. Decimating Smash is going to be blocked by the passive of the Dr. Mundo. Beniona is trying to get on out of here, but here comes a onslaught of Scion right now, and is going to start off this play. Into the choke goes the rest of Team Coconuts. They're trying to find the damage to finish off the first kill of the play. Into the right of the Arcane goes RSH, but he's canceled by Jim Cantor. First kill will be John. It will be Vampire Holly to follow. Jim Cantor is legendary. Now this Baron should be done and dusted, barring some heroics from Colby.
Yeah, great awareness there to actually know the Baron was trying to get snuck there. And Arya now in a pretty tough position. Joker just going to flash over the wall, wants this kill, and they're able to secure it. That should be all but free Baron here for Dorado, and it's looking like they're able to nip this one in the bud.
That is going to be successful. They were taking no chances. Dorado, Golden God, Dorado's had enough. They've said, enough of this. This is not going to be a 40-minute classic. We're ending this game, and we're ending this game right now. They're on pace to do so. And let's talk bailouts here for Team Coconuts. What do they have potentially even going for them right now? You know, the upgraded feats of strength boots have been bought for RSH. So this third item, especially with the Medjais, that's not coming through for a really long time. They're waiting on that Infinity Edge of the Sivir. And even then, can Arya really muster the strength to eat through the absolute nightmare that is Dorado right now with a 7,000 gold lead? I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, it's looking pretty dire here. I just want to make one shout I didn't really think about when I was looking at these comps. There's no real good lockdown here for Team Coconuts. They just have to do the damage to be able to find it. Yes, they have the Glacial Prison, but that's a single target. When you have a Lilia in the game, it's always so important to have some sort of consistent CC threat to actually lock her down extremely effectively. But with Janna and also Mundo, you just don't have any of that consistency. Mundo a bit more is focused on just getting this lane through, but with how many ganks actually went up towards Beniona, it hasn't really panned out as well as Beniona was probably planning in this one.
Certainly not, and it's getting pretty dire for them as Colby's forced out of their own jungle. That's just the way it be when you're this far behind and you are playing the Sejuani against a 9-0 Lilia who has a Medjais of their own, and that one is looking a lot more, or at least a lot better than the one in RSH's inventory. I'm sorry, I keep going back to the RSH point, who has the Medjais. That's not working out too well. You know, this play's not working out too well either. Spiraling Despair is going to be the end of RSH in the bot lane. Tower's going to go down. They're knocking on the Nexus, or sorry, not the Nexus yet, but the inhibitor towers as well. And there's just no defense. Arya can't really do a whole lot. Now they're sieging down the mid lane. Void is pushing the top lane. So far, there's been a whole lot of value earned from this Baron buff. Dorado is really putting in the work macro-wise right now.
Yeah, this is looking dire now. Jim Cantor, they want to find an engage here. They're going to find the flash
Oh,
follow.
the flash did not mean Jim Cantor could escape. 1,000 gold goes to Beniona. Inhibitor was taken on the other side, but that's all they're going to get. Huge shutdown for Team Coconuts.
Yeah, that was very crucial to find it. Pretty much quite checkmated there in that position, so very well played there from Team Coconuts to at least squeak away with something. They're down 10k. You'll take anything at this point, and you don't lose that second inhibitor, which is pretty important. So definitely a lot to consider coming forward. And just a note, Lilia still has a 150 gold bounty after that shutdown.
Yeah, that's how far ahead Jim Cantor was. That is the Jim Cantor effect in this series. Has played pretty well, especially on this game with the Lilia. And you don't think Golden Guy, that 1K bounty, like, we're not gonna get another one of these, are we?
Yeah, no way. No way. The
No,
Sivir totally didn't
no.
just hit 3 items. Oh, no
Yeah,
way.
no, yeah, we're good. You know, Dorado is on the right track. 21-8. Things are looking pretty good for them. What do they got going for them? They have an inhibitor down. Yeah, the Baron's not up for 2.5 minutes, but it will still be down when the Baron comes back up, at least for the moment. So they could use that to their advantage, play for next Baron. Soul is not really going to be, at least for another 10 minutes, in this picture here. So it's going to have to come down to Dorado making some pretty proactive plays. Could start with Beniona. They're hawk-shotting this out. Hashiyumi's taking a pretty long flank. Jim Cantor is joining the party as well, but Beniona in a safe enough position, I think. You're walking back. Has the passive. Not going to stun him up, but here comes the unstoppable onslaught. Never mind. This is going to be a team fight. All hell is going to break loose right here, right now. Beniona doing their very best to tank for the rest of the team. Little Team Lullaby goes down. Look at the spiraling despair. It is collapsing onto multiple members. So many people dying from the side of Team Coconuts. They want to win. Does Dorado right here, right now. Jim Cantor marches forward. They don't want to stop the onslaught. They want to keep on going. Severi Bolt has to be flashed away from Arya, and it will be RSH to flash away as well. 5 versus 2. Looking for the end is Dorado.
They have great wave clear here, but they're just going to triple inhib. They're going for the more secure ending, and they may have the waves now with the supers walking in, but they're just destroying these turrets. Arya can't even walk in. The Hui completely zoning off, and now with Sion going forward, it's all but over. Jim Cantor wants to find the kills. But no, just with that, Dorado's just going to take this one.
That is going to be the end of the game. So, hey, I thought maybe it would take a little bit longer. We hinted at, it could have been that same type of game, but this time Dorado, they fix up their mistakes. This time they make it clean. It was a thrown game in game 1. In game 2 it was a almost thrown game. This time Golden God, they make it happen. Still Arya, a really insane performance despite the deficit that the team had. But we got to talk about John and Jim Cantor in this one.
Yeah, definitely a big shout out there. I mean, 46k damage on the Lilia. I talked about how important this pick was, and they didn't really have great answers to it in the draft after it was locked in B2. So definitely gonna have to inspect your decision making there in that one for Team Coconut going forward. But that puts Dorado at the nice mark of 2-1, so they're going to be already propelling themselves towards that first place position in the group, which, as we talked about before this broadcast really kicked off, everyone besides one team was at 1-1. So getting these wins in week 3 could be the big difference between whether you make playoff cut or not. So stuff like that is definitely very important to consider as you move forward in these weeks. So big shout outs to Dorado. I'd say they were the better team, but they made some very big crucial mistakes that they could definitely work on going forward. And I'll make, one final kind of reference. Like Team Coconut, they got 3 subs, and they did pretty damn well. So I'd say maybe there's some play in the roster if you'd want to maybe be able to kind of flex in, for instance, like a star player like Arya throughout this one to maybe allow them a place in this team if that's the direction you want to go. But either way, a pretty decent showing from them, all things considered.
Yeah, from the way game 1 was starting, and I had it in the back of my mind, okay, Team Coconuts is fielding 3 substitutes. Is this just kind of the way it's going to go? I think I actually said it in game 1. I was like, this might just be what we see because of their unfortunate situation. That did not end up being the case. We got an absolute banger of a best of 3 between these two. And I think I'm pretty satisfied with what we got here, Golden Gat. It was quite entertaining, but Dorado, in the end, able to pull it on out and grab themselves that win. They improve to 2-1. And that's going to wrap up our broadcast for the evening. Thank you so much, everyone who spent the night here and enjoyed with us some League of Legends here in the Titan Immortal League. Next week, it will be back to Slayer and Quacks, bringing you more action on that fine Thursday evening. Thank you to our producers, Wookie and Golden behind the scenes, making the stream look so fantastic. And have a wonderful night, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you.